What's going on, guys? And welcome back to another episode of PodcastMania. Um, I'm Luke, and joined with me on every episode, we have my lovely co host, Nick. Nick, go ahead and say hello to the people, my man.
Hello to the people. How's everyone doing out there?
They're doing
We
good.
we excited for WrestleMania?
uh,
Like it's round the corner right now, right?
yeah, no, it's exciting, man. WrestleMania, it's been I want to say close to a month, and I think it's been probably exactly a month since we last sat down and talked. And yeah, WrestleMania is next Saturday and Sunday, which is super exciting.
Yeah.
And we've had quite the build. I really feel like after Elimination Chamber, the build to WrestleMania finally really started kind of kicking and rolling.
Oh yeah.
It started kicking the can down the road for sure. So Nick, how are you feeling overall about the build up to WrestleMania? Because now you've been actually watching week to week, which I guess was relatively new for you because you weren't watching week to week as often before. So how's it
Yeah.
been getting back into the week to week stuff, and how are you feeling the build for WrestleMania so far has been for you?
So yeah, watching the week to week matches. Normally, I wouldn't bother, as I said before. Like I like the spectacle that is the PLEs, the pay per views and whatnot. Um, and the week to week just doesn't really interest me. But I was like, no, I'm doing this, and I almost saw it as homework in the beginning. That homework quickly turned into an obsession because, frankly, it's been really good. I remember the first episode. I sat down to watch it. I think it was when they were in Scotland, which was like it's not immediately after Elimination Chamber. Like I
Mm-hmm.
wasted a good couple of weeks before getting into it, and I think the first segment, Cena came out, and the first words out of his mouth were last week. And it was like, oh god, well now I want to see what happened last week. So I went back to the previous episode, and
Mm-hmm.
then something in there made me go back to the previous. So like I went back a good couple of weeks after I was, and to like catch up to the point where I could finally watch them coming to Britain and whatnot. And yeah, I have been very much enjoying it. It's been entertaining, and I think I've seen a side that isn't portrayed so much on the PLEs, so
Mm-hmm.
much from what have you these days. But the tag scene on the week to week
Mm-hmm.
is a lot bigger than what you get on the big events. And to be fair, I think that's while there has been a lot of tag action
Mm-hmm.
over the last few weeks, there is not that much on the actual card, and
No.
that is the one thing that I think I have noticed as being the biggest disparity between the week to week and the big events. But that said, it hasn't meant that the road to WrestleMania has been any less entertaining for me, and I'm looking forward to the vast majority of matches that we've got coming up. Have you been enjoying it? Because I know obviously you're a bit more
Yeah.
used to keeping up with the week to week, right?
Yeah, it's funny because you mentioned it. You were telling me how you started getting into the week to week. I'm not gonna lie. I fell off the week to week when they went to do the European tour because everything was already online by the time I got to it because it would air on Netflix at 3 o'clock in the afternoon versus 8 o'clock when I'm like at home. So by the second I open like Instagram or
Yeah.
TikTok or Twitter or whatnot, it literally like everything that's happened on there. I was like, well, I'll just watch this because I'll save my time on a Monday to spend time with other things or do other things at this point.
Hmm.
Because again, like I love watching it live, but like once I know what's happened, the will to watch it is like, all right, cool, I'm okay. Because unless there's like an amazing like 5-star match that happened on Raw during that period, which I don't think it did, I was not going to sit down and physically watch it. That being said, when I do watch it live and then from the recaps I get, yeah, the road has really been picking up steam. I'm like very, very excited. Now there was a couple matches was not super excited for that they finally kind of got the ball rolling down the hill with. Like specifically the Gunther and Jey Uso match, the Charlotte and Tiffany match. Those were
Yeah, yeah.
ones where I was like a little like, all right, like those are matches. I'm not sure how I feel about them. Like I know they're gonna happen. They'll probably be great, but I'm not invested in anything. And then they definitely the last week or two fixed that side of things. Though
Yeah.
definitely I will say I just love the um the build up to like really like the one feud I've been really big into, and we'll talk about when we talk about the match predictions in a second, but the CM Punk, Roman Reigns, and Seth Rollins, because that was my biggest question mark into the feud was like, okay, who's doing what? Okay, we're doing a triple threat match.
Yeah,
Okay, cool. What's the reason behind it? Okay, we finally got the favor. Is that the favor? Da da da. So I'm like, I'm kind of like in between. Like, while I'm excited for the match, I've been probably the most invested in that story and like what's going to happen.
I get you.
That being
Yeah,
said,
yeah. I would say
mhm.
real quick. You mentioned no 5-star matches, and I don't know whether it counts officially as a 5-star match or whatnot. But the steel cage
Yeah, it
match
was a good match.
between Punk and Rollins before Reigns interrupted, that was a phenomenal
Oh
match.
yeah,
I really enjoyed that one. And again, not going into it too much because we're going to get into the whole saga and whatnot. But just to touch on, you talk about on the road, not necessarily great match. That was a damn good
yeah, yeah,
match.
yeah.
That is probably the best one and the highlight of everything I've seen over the last
Yeah,
few
no,
weeks.
no, for sure. It definitely was like the highlight of like the past couple months. Like that steel cage match was really, really good. And again, it happened so long ago that I almost forgot. I won't lie, but
Yeah, it's like 4 or 5 weeks ago.
yeah, but that was a good match. So like, I've been very interested in the builds, and I think they've done a great job at building up the matches so far. Is this the best build to a WrestleMania that there's been? Probably not. Definitely not compared to last year's Mania, where that one was like really built up really well. It was like there was a lot going. There was some shoehorned matches in there a little bit. But I feel like the build to last year's was so big because we had just that this really, really big story, that being Cody Rhodes going after the
Yeah,
bloodline and The Rock being back. And I know that's going to be really hard to top, and you can definitely see the disparity because it was last year's to this year. And you're like, all right, there's definitely something missing, and I think the missing piece, honestly, it's The Rock and the bloodline story, because that was such a crazy good story side of things. Like it was just like the cinematic storytelling. This was their Marvel universe, was the bloodline saga. That was their
yeah.
Avengers level thing, and I feel like that was such a big part of everything that the build up for this one it just feels a little lackluster compared to last year's build up to WrestleMania.
I will agree with you. I think last year's was definitely a build higher, and the hype was so much more real compared to this year. However, I think that you talk about it being the Avengers level threat and whatnot in the Bloodline storyline, but realistically, you cannot have that every year
No, you can't.
because if you do, the when you do like last year WrestleMania 40, it's nowhere near as
Mm-hmm.
big as it was because eventually it just becomes here comes the yearly massive amazing storyline. And don't get me wrong, there's still some bloody big storylines in this, which I'm very excited for, but not on the same level. You are completely right, but I think it is impossible to have that level year on year on year.
Mm-hmm. 100%. No, I agree with you. I agree. Like that's a good point. We can't be having these ginormous storylines that have been paying off for 3 years every single year. You're 100% right, but it definitely
Don't get
is.
greedy.
Yeah, don't get greedy. We'll get it in 3 years, guys. But yeah, no, I've been enjoying the build so far. So, but yeah, I think we'll go ahead and dive into the match cards. Nick, is there anything that we want to touch on before we get into the proper match cards?
No, I am good to jump into all of these. There is a lot of matches to
Yes.
cover. So I think that it's just worth saying some of them we might spend longer talking about than others
Yes.
because otherwise we could be here for a very long time.
Yes. So the match card that me and Nick are looking at is one that has every match has so far been confirmed. This I'm not gonna say the way we'll be talking about it is the order that the matches are going to be in. That being said, they very well could be. Nothing's really confirmed. Everything gets moved around the day of the show, anyways. So we're not necessarily the main events. Obviously, we'll talk about the main events because we know they've already been confirmed that those will be the main events for night one and night two. On that being something, the matches in between that, not sure which is going to open and which is going to be the middle. So we're not going to be talking about how we feel about this match being placed here, yada yada yada. But we'll start off at night one, and the first match we have lined up, which was announced on I think on social media, is the War Raiders versus the New Day for the World Tag Team Championships. So how do you feel about it, Nick? What do you think?
So it's worth mentioning this is, I believe, the only tag team match in the entire pay per view,
Yes.
which is sort of why I mentioned how much of a big tag team scene there is on the week to week in comparison to what we're getting here. And especially if this is opening, it's kind of just like we don't know if it's opening, as you literally just said, Lou. But like this is the list that we've got here. It feels like it's almost getting it out of the way. I
Yeah.
think that there has not been anywhere near enough spotlight on this match for it
Yeah.
to be seen as in any way impactful.
Hmm.
Um, like, I mean, in terms of, I don't want to say I'm not excited for it,
Yeah.
but of all the matches, it's probably one of the the ones I'm least hyped for.
Yeah.
I think
Exactly.
it'll be a good match, but it just doesn't carry that same level of excitement, you know?
Yeah, no, 100%. I totally understand where you're coming from. Yeah, I mean, I was wondering where the tag team scene was going to be. I personally felt like I wish they would have saved if they were gonna choose one tag division to put on the card. I wish they would have saved it for the SmackDown tag division because it's leaps and bounds above the Raw tag team division in the nicest way
Yeah.
possible. It's just that they got so much talent over on SmackDown that's killing it in the tag team scene that I would have really loved to see the Profits defend the title in like maybe like a ladder match or like a four-way like kind of tag team match or
Oh,
something like
that'd be
that.
awesome.
That would have been really really cool. I get why they're doing it this way with the New Day and the Warriors only because I have a slight prediction that if this is going to be the opener, which is only it only makes sense if it's the opener. For me to get the crowd because again the opening match has to be the match that sets the pace for the card.
Yeah.
If this is not the match opener, then my prediction kind of goes out the window. But I think we see an appearance from Big E at this point, and whether Big E either costs the New Day the titles or is there it comes back and destroys them after they win the titles or whatnot. I think we're going to get an appearance from Big E in the sense of like this is kind of like a good feel, like hey he's back, or
Yeah.
hey he got his comeuppance against his brothers who were saying terrible things about him and blaming him for the reason why they aren't tag team champions. Which the heel turn was great when it first happened, but they have definitely fumbled the heel turn pretty badly with the New Day
Yeah,
because
I'd agree with that.
they're not entertaining as heels. They're kind of boring. Um, but you know I think if Biggie makes an appearance of somewhat, I think that it would be worthy of being put on the card for that like moment of him being back. That being said,
Yeah.
he broke it. He broke his neck. Like his neck is screwed. I don't know if he's gonna be back, but we might have a feel good moment with Big E in the sense of like he's here. He got his comeuppance. Yay, Big E's like here, woohoo! And then we get the real card started. But prediction wise, I definitely feel like it's tough because I don't really know. I think if you want to solidify and make the New Day the heels that they are, I think you got to give them the tag team championships. I think so.
Yeah.
So I think if that's the way they're going to go with it, I see the new. My prediction is that the New Day does win the belts, just because it makes sense logically for their heel turn to have the belts. It'd be a great because at WrestleMania heels hardly ever win really. Like it's always the faces coming up on top for the feel good moments. I feel like this would be a great
Mhm.
one where I think I can definitely see Kofi and Xavier winning the belts, grabbing the mic, talking smack on everyone, talking smack on Big E, and then Big E comes out, and then everyone gets pops and everyone gets really excited. But yeah, my prediction is that the New Day wins this match.
I 100% agree with you in terms of prediction, particularly if you're talking like calling it down the middle, no interference kind of thing, almost like I'm not going to call it a clean win because obviously New Day are the heels in all of this and what have you, but in terms of like without outside interference in, affecting things, I think New Day, they realistically should win. I think there's probably more you can do storyline with them than the War Raiders, who other than when the match was first announced, basically haven't seen hide and hair of over the road to WrestleMania,
Mhm.
realistically. Um, and yeah, I agree with you about what you're saying regarding Biggie as well. I think it is like it feels like the only reason this was the tag team match they chose to showcase is because of the likelihood of the bigger return. So I think I'm inclined to agree with you on that prediction. I agree with you on New Day winning, unless Big E comes in and cost them the win. But yeah, if guns to my head in this choice, New Day winning all day long. I think.
All right. Yeah, I think good. We got that match out of the way. Now on to the match that I honestly have been enjoying the build to this match so very much. And it's a unique match in the sense it's a women's match that honestly on WrestleMania card that has nothing to do with the title, which is actually one of the
Yep.
very few, which is really, really cool. This is being Jade Cargill versus Naomi. I think there's no stipulation. I think this match should have a stipulation. If there isn't one, then maybe they'll add one in at the last second. But a traditional match, Naomi versus Jade Cargill. This match is probably for me one of the harder ones to kind of predict the outcome of. I've loved the build up to the story. I love the fact that Naomi is doing honestly her best work as a character in like ever, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Like
Yeah.
usually she's just like feel the glow. There's never like a serious part of her. The fact that she's playing a heel and being able to come out of her shell and really show her acting chops, her performance chops, really really good. I like the feel. I like heel Naomi a lot. That being said, this is Jade Cargill's first WrestleMania match, and
Yeah.
I don't. And they have built. I'll never forget this. They built. I remember the shot before Charlotte went away for getting her knee worked on when she got hurt. The shot of her and Jade facing off when Jade was on SmackDown, and I'm like, that's the match. Like that is like the future. Like they don't just put people with the four horse. Well, okay, Charlotte and Becky. I'm sorry, Bailey. I don't want to be mean, but it's kind of unfortunately the truth. But they don't be putting these people next to the top like women in the division just for them not to think that this person could be the next version of them. Because Jade Cargill has everything. Like she's got the look. She's got. I mean, God, she's ginormous and in crazy good shape.
Oh
She's
my gosh. Yeah.
she's definitely
She's
been
scary AF in
yeah.
terms of her physique.
Yeah, exactly. And so for that reason alone, I think Jade does win this match because I do not see them bringing in this top former AEW star, AEW star into WrestleMania for them to lose to, even though Naomi's doing great, but to lose to Naomi. And again, Naomi attacked Jade, so it doesn't really make sense for her to go over in the sense of that reason because it's like hey, you attack someone, so you you deserve your comeuppance. So I for that reason, I think Naomi takes this one. But I think it will be a really good match, though. I think it will be a very very solid match, and I'm actually really looking forward to the match and the storytelling in the ring because again, Naomi's been killing it with her heel work over the past 5 weeks.
Yeah, I agree. I think that in terms of the win versus loss, what it does for each of them in terms of a career, I think Jade it gives her the push that the WWE clearly want to give, as you say. Like you don't introduce somebody like Jade to then have them lose at WrestleMania for their first match and what have you. And Naomi, what you're talking about there with her heel work and the character that's being portrayed, I almost think a loss serves her better in
Mm-hmm.
terms of it being able to use that as fuel for the anger the character's supposed to be portraying and what have you. Whereas a win just almost like if Naomi wins, it stops her storyline dead in its track. It's like, oh, cool, you went crazy and you won. Great, good for you. Now everyone can forget that you needed to do that. And Jade, it shuts them down. So there is no world I see where it is a better outcome for business, and that's what you've got to think about this. As much as we want to predict it in terms of wrestler versus wrestler, you've got to think about it in the meta view of it and in
Mm-hmm.
terms of what's going to happen. It is a better for business if Jade wins 100%. I also think it will be a good match because while we've seen a fair amount of Jade and Naomi over the last few weeks and whatnot,
Mm-hmm.
we haven't actually seen either of them do an awful lot of wrestling. Most of it's just
Yeah.
been like out of ring, like jumping people,
Yeah.
like beat downs. Like there has not been either of them really partaking in a full match to my memory. I think every single match that they got into got interrupted in some way, shape, or form by the other one normally.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it is a match that's going to be good to watch. I think it's going to be entertaining, but I think the outcome is already written on the wall. And yeah, yeah, it's not going to be much suspense there, I don't think.
100%. So Nick also has Jade as well. So let's go. Let's go. All right. Next
Yeah.
match.
I promise we probably won't agree on everything. I'm sure
Yes.
there's going to be a match that we're going to come to where we disagree.
I hope so. All
Yeah,
right.
yeah. Otherwise, it's going to be really boring. If both of us have come in and it's just like, huh. Turns out this WrestleMania really predictable.
All right.
Well,
So
okay, no, in
yeah.
fact, either we get it right and it's really predictable, or we both get every single match wrong, and then it's
This is
just
the
like,
most
it turns out we know shit about wrestling.
yeah, WWE said, screw you, Jade Cargill. We're not pushing you. All right. So the next match, it's a US title match. It's LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. Now, I have a bone to pick
Yeah.
with this match. Only
Oh,
because
okay.
not because of the participants or anything like that. The United States title scene up to the Elimination Chamber was honestly one of the most fun, like, title scenes I saw, because you had LA Knight, you had Shinsuke, you had Carmelo, you had Jacob, you had Braun, you had all, because like the build up to get to this match, there's a lot of number one contenderships, and
Mhm.
I know how I feel. I love multi man matches, but I really felt like this match honestly needed the 4-way more than the IC title match, and I feel like the US, because they built up that scene so very well. I would have loved to see a fatal 4-way match between Shinsuke, LA, Jacob, and then like Carmelo Hayes or something like that, just to get Carmelo on the WrestleMania card, because I loved his
Yeah,
run
yeah,
down
yeah.
at NXT. I would have loved that, but that's not what we got. But we also got, probably the two favorites in that match to win it anyways. Going off, LA has the championship now. He won that from Shinsuke a couple weeks back, and now it's him versus Jacob Fatu. I this match is going to be a good match. I love Jacob Fatu. I think he is going to be the next guy up. They're going to be building him really well because his mic work is really good. He's crazy athletic in the ring.
Yeah.
He's when I watch Jacob Fatu in the ring, he reminds me of like a just a more beast Jeff Hardy. The way he flies around the ring, he's like super thick.
Yeah, I get it.
He's like very extreme, but he's like a bigger guy, so it's like you don't expect him to do the things he does. He's super entertaining to watch in the ring. He literally is a destroyer. Like it's just
Mhm.
crazy how good athletic he is. And LA Knight, LA Knight's really LA Knight's fun. He's a cool character. Don't get me wrong, but I want him to move on from the U.S. title scene because I feel like he is great as the mid card champion, but I think he belongs in that main event scene for his character work because he's really good on the
Mhm.
mic, and I would love to see him go toe to toe with the Codys, the Romans, the McIntyres, the Priests, those guys. Like I'd love to see him interact with those guys a little bit more than just the mid card guys because I think he's already had his time in the mid card. Like you can either not put him on TV, which
You,
you kind of have a hard
you
time.
think he's paid his dues, is what you're saying.
Yeah,
You think he's done his
I
time.
think he's done his time in the mid card scene, and I think it's time to push him to the top and see what he can do at the top. See if he can get over. See how he can carry his weight with the big dogs at the very top. Because I feel like the mid card does such a good job at bringing. The way I look at wrestling, I look at you start off. You have your people first starting off, and then you get the younger guys start getting pushed to the mid card, and then they do in the mid card, and then they get pushed to the top where they get to flourish or not, and then they get sunk back down in the mid card. LA Knight really never got a fair shot at being at the top solely because he was at the top with Roman Reigns on SmackDown, and no one was going over Roman Reigns at that time besides Cody Rhodes.
No.
So that's why I feel like even though he did go in the main event scene for a little bit, it wasn't a proper main event kind of like main card type of character work for him. I want LA Knight to this goes in my perspective. I want him to drop it to Jacob. I want him to lose to Jacob. I think Jacob's going to win, obviously, because it's Jacob. If you're going to build this guy up, you can't have him lose clean to LA Knight unless there is bloodline interference, like Solo comes in and costs him the match or something like that to build up that feud for the summer, which I don't think is a great call, but WWE's done that before. They've done that before.
I mean, yeah, you're not wrong.
They got to keep the bloodline stuff going on. So, they might try to bring that in and carry that on to SummerSlam or something like that. But I think Jacob wins this match, wins the title, and I think this leads to LA Knight going into that more main event scene on SmackDown, um, and leaving Jacob in the mid card to work with these mid card guys like your Carmelos, your Ray Phoenixes. You're probably returning Alistair Blacks and stuff like not Alistair Black, but Malachi Black, stuff like
Yeah.
that, where they're going to be coming in and working with those guys, and I think that's a great scene. I just don't want LA Knight to be in that scene anymore because I'm a little tired of seeing LA Knight in the mid card because he's been in the mid card for the past 3 years. He's been the top guy in the mid card for the past 3 years. Let's put him to the top. Let him have his matches with Drew. Let him have his matches with Priest. Because honestly, those guys would be killer on the mic. Because I could imagine a promo battle between Drew and LA Knight, and it would be awesome. And I'm excited for that if they ever do that route of things. And
Okay.
for that reason, I think Jacob Fatu wins because I think it's time to give LA Knight the time to put him. Let him just test it. Let's see if he's as good as he thinks he is. And let's do it.
Okay, so I think I agree with the outcome that you're saying in terms of Jacob Fatu wins, but I don't necessarily agree with the reasoning that you're giving in terms of because it's time for LA to move on to bigger and better things. I think the reason Jacob wins is because they want to push Jacob,
Yeah.
which I mean you did say originally and whatnot, and I think that he is a very exciting new prospect that we haven't seen a lot of yet, and I think he's going to do some really good things. I think he needs to win this title. Just because he's performing doesn't mean that he's necessarily got the right push behind him, and I think the belt gives him that amount of credibility that he doesn't otherwise have. I think he gets this. He then goes on to feud with Solo, breaks away from the bloodline so that they're not holding back, or they very much drop into the background and are like they're the supporting cast for Jacob. Um, Whereas it is currently, I mean, Solo is technically meant to be leading that group, I believe, right? And it just doesn't feel like that's the kind of setup that's actually going on there. So I think that Jacob wins for that reason. In terms of what happens to LA Knight, I am not the fan of him that you are. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm not saying he's bad. I recognize particularly his mic work. Very good. You cannot fault that. And to be honest, I think cutting a good promo is probably more than 50% of the work to being a big name in wrestling these days. So yeah, maybe he can go on to bigger things, but I don't see him holding the big belt.
Yeah.
Not anytime soon, anyway. Like I mean, maybe the heavyweight one, if you was to look at versus like the Gunther or Russo's, because like very much you've got the Universal belt, which is like absolute top, and then you've got the heavyweight, which is supposed to be similar, but it's not even. They don't even pretend that it's as good. So maybe he could go towards that one, but he's not. He's not on the same level as like Cody is at the moment, and what have you. So I think, and you mentioned about no one gets over on Reigns. I don't think LA Knight would have got there even if it was somebody other than Reigns.
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
So I would like maybe he can do some other good work. The matches at the top of the card that just aren't involving titles and what have you.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, but I don't think he's quite ready to jump all the way to the top like you suggesting he might be able to. But regardless of that, I still think that this is easy win for Jacob. I think this gives him a huge push and a huge amount of credibility, which just serves to further his career and make him a genuinely scary threat in the WWE as it currently stands. But I'm just remembering you mentioned this now in terms of you said you prefer this as the multi-man match. No, I like this as the one-on-one. I think you're going to get a much better match out of these two one-on-one than what would have been, frankly, a mess, I think, if you'd have had that many different big personalities. Whereas I think I see match, which is the Fatal 4-Way, I think that is much better with the people they've got involved as a four-man match, because I don't think any one of those players, apart from Balor, can do a one-on-one match of WrestleMania quality. at the moment. At the moment. But we'll get onto that one later. But I like this match. I think this is going to be one of the best matches of the night, frankly, in terms of entertainment purposes. But I think Jacob is definitely winning this in
Okay.
my mind.
Fair, fair, very fair. You're 100% right. I think Jacob definitely wins. But no. Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I like LA Knight a lot. Definitely for sure. Do I want him with a world title? Probably, but I just want him in the main event scene. You know, I want him having higher quality
Fair,
matches,
fair.
and that's kind
Okay.
of where I feel on that one. But moving on to one of the matches where I was not super excited for this match coming into about 2 weeks ago. This being
Same.
the Tiffany Stratton versus Charlotte Flair for the WWE Women's Championship. Um,
Yes.
this was probably the hardest one for me to predict. It really is because I don't.
I okay. I disagree. I think this is a very easy one to predict. So,
Okay,
in that, can I jump in
yeah,
and take
just
the
go
lead
ahead.
on what I
Just go
think
ahead.
happens?
Just go ahead,
All
Nick.
right, cool. If you're not sure, I'm going to tell you right now. Stratton wins this. There is absolutely no reason to give Charlotte Flair another title, right? That which would make it, I think, her 15th, and pushing all the work that they've been doing on Stratton down under. It sweeps her under the table. She's no longer relevant. Like she's still an up and comer,
Mm-hmm.
right? She's still finding her feet in the business, even though she's holding the biggest belt.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't mean that she is the biggest name yet. And I think that Charlotte Flair beating her serves nobody. Charlotte Flair doesn't need to go over. Tiffany Stratton getting squashed doesn't help her career. I think it makes the belt. I don't want to say it devalues it in putting it on Charlotte again, because obviously Charlotte is clearly does nothing but make a belt seem bigger than it is, but it doesn't help the title scene. Nobody wants to see Charlotte win and then another feud with somebody else that she probably had a feud with 3 or 4 times already in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So I think that while I agree in terms of I wasn't necessarily the most like hyped about the match and what, I think it is a very easy Stratton win in my mind. I know there's been a lot of there's some stuff that happened in the recent like promo they were cutting
Mm-hmm.
with each other, and I don't fully understand exactly what was wrong because I haven't gone into the details on the dirt sheets and what have you. But I know that at least one of them, if not both of them, said something out of turn,
Yeah.
which has made the whole thing a little bit more interesting. Maybe you can enlighten me because I'm not fully clued in. But I think it's a Stratton win. It's a Stratton win. So
Okay.
please tell me if you think it's not as cold cut as that.
Yeah, I don't think it's cold cut as that. I think it's going. I think it's tough because as much as I love Tiffany Stratton, I think is the future of the company. She
Ooh,
is not.
future. That's bold.
Yeah, she is. She's going to be one of the top faces of the company for years to come.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, like
One of, I think, calling her the face, the future. I'm not
I
so
think.
sold on just yet,
Well,
but yeah.
okay, all right. That's a different discussion. All right.
Sorry, yeah, sorry. Carry on. I'm interrupting you. That's unfair.
um, I think Tiffany Stratton has been a lackluster champion. And I think it's because she does her best work as a heel and not a face. And I think she has had a decent title run, don't get me wrong. And I think and for that reason alone, I think Charlotte wins this match. Because
Okay.
to be fair, for Charlotte's sake, she has lost every WrestleMania match all the WrestleMania matches recent memory that she's done, the ones with Rhea's, the
Yeah.
one with Bianca's, the ones where she's put over the new faces of the women's divisions, as you so call it, she's lost those. And I think for this one reason, I think they give Charlotte 15 because I think they're gonna have her tie daddy with 16 or 17 and be like, and I think that, and this is the way you get there because Charlotte, and for all intents and purposes, is going to be kind of like a semi part timer women's wrestler. And I think I see
She
Charlotte.
already is.
Yeah, exactly. And so I think Charlotte wins this belt, and it pushes Tiffany a little bit further down the card, because if you're going to make Tiffany a face, she needs to be chasing something. And that's where I think you could do a title feud where you could extend maybe this match where Tiffany has to prove herself once again to be as good as Charlotte, push this program to SummerSlam potentially, where with a proper build, not a shoe-in 5 weeks, 7 weeks build where they're like, hey, I'm challenging you at the for WrestleMania like a week after the Royal Rumble. And if they don't go that route, I can see also this kind of goes into my prediction for the 3-way, but I can see one of those women obviously losing and going to SmackDown to then take the title off of Charlotte. And that thing, whether all 3 of those women have the potential to do that. So 100%, I can definitely see that being a scenario where if they don't want to have the belt on Charlotte for long term, but they want to build Tiffany up or transition her to a heel, you have 3 top women in the card that can easily swap over to the next brand, challenge Charlotte's a viable challenger, have a good match, take that belt off of her so she can chase 16 next year or whatever.
Just to clarify, when you're talking about the 3 women from the other match, just in case people don't know what the card is, that's Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair.
All 3 of those
which
women.
Obviously we'll get to.
We'll get to those
shortly,
predictions.
But just in case people don't know what we're talking about.
Exactly, yeah. All 3 of those women could easily go over to SmackDown, challenge Charlotte for the championship in a believable match at some of the pay-per-views going up to the summertime or at SummerSlam and take the belt off of her. And so for that reason, I think Charlotte wins this one because Charlotte's put over a lot of younger talent, even though I think Charlotte's character is not the best. It's never been, her character work has never been really great. It's her matches that are really great. I also think that this match will not be as good as her other WrestleMania matches. I think this is going to be probably, I just don't, I love Tiffany, but I think and this is where the dirt sheets come in a little bit. They've got some beef, and it's not because of anything. It's because they went off kilter. I think Charlotte went off kilter first, and then Tiffany threw out the 0-3 line about her divorces and all that stuff, which is, I was like, oof, oh, we're going there. I was like, who?
Oh, was that what that was referring to?
She's 0-3 in marriage, and I was just like, I literally said, oof, did this get cleared? And then nothing, like they all went off kilter, and I feel like you can definitely tell when Charlotte wants to put effort into a match and when Charlotte doesn't want to put effort into a match. And I'm not saying she will do this because I think Charlotte's an absolute professional, but I think especially in the matches that she goes over in, they're not nearly as good as the matches where she loses. So I think that match quality might dip a little bit. That being said, I think it's just tough, man. I was like, I want Tiffany to win because I don't really like Charlotte that much as like a character on TV, and I think she's boring as a champion. I think she belongs being a champion because she's like, she has that presence of like she's kind of got that final boss vibe kind of going on with her now.
I think she's a great champion.
Yeah, I just think she's a little boring on like character wise. Like she's like, I'm the queen, I'm the best. I'm like, all right, yeah, you've been saying this for 10 years. But
but because she is the queen,
yeah,
she is the best.
I know.
Right, okay. Here's the thing. Okay, as much as I might get behind so many of the other women, female talent out there, right? There is no denying that Charlotte Flair is the single best women wrestler they have.
Oh yeah, for sure, for sure. In ring work, she's amazing. I love watching her matches. It's just that getting to the matches is a slog because her character work on TV is just not interesting. And this could also be just because they haven't given her the right person to bounce off of. In that way, like we had the really cool build, like her wrestling soulmate's Becky Lynch, and it's just kind of how it is. It's kind of like that's how the one that she brings out the best in her. They have the best matches, they have the best promos, they have the best interactions with each other. And I just when she's not feuding with Becky or Sasha was another great example. It's just not, the build is just not, to get to the match is slow, and I don't enjoy Charlotte holding the belt because it's just not a good build up to the great matches. And that's where I think we talk about promos, like 50% of it, and ring works like the other 50%. And I feel like character work is not that great, but her in-ring work is so good, and that's why it makes up for it. But I'm not gonna. It's been a slog trying to get to this WrestleMania match, and that's where I'm like, I don't know if that's necessarily Tiffany's fault or the writer's fault or Charlotte's fault or whatnot. But honestly, Charlotte winning makes the most sense to me logically. I think this is how you get her to do the storyline where she's got the most titles as her father, and I think it's a thing where Tiffany is much better suited as a babyface chasing the championship versus holding the championship. Or, in my opinion, she's a better heel than she is a face, and I think this is how you can transition her back to a heel where she can be a proper heel, almost being kind of like a Charlotte in the sense of like just being that bad girl, like she's just a bad girl.
I I think if you want her a heel, you keep her as the champion. I think you let her go over Charlotte. I think that you then let it like appear to go to her head, and she starts being that. Well, I've beaten the best, so that makes me the best kind of thing.
Okay.
And once you get that sort of cocky attitude, it makes you that heel, which is then she is a heel champion, which is always better.
Okay.
I think that if she goes back to like chasing a belt, then it keeps her in that babyface line. And I agree with you. I do think she's better as a heel than as a babyface.
Yeah.
So I understand what you're saying about why they want to put Charlotte over, and you mentioning the fact that she's lost the most recent matches does at WrestleMania anyway does make sense. Like she can't keep losing because then it discredits her in the like as a threat.
Yeah.
So like that makes me think maybe, but I think that realistically, I'm still on the side of they've done a lot of work with Tiffany at the moment, and squashing over from Charlotte doesn't help
Okay.
Tiffany's career. So hey, and we haven't agreed on one.
There we go.
This is good.
This is good.
Mark it down.
All right. So next up on the match is probably one of the matches where I'm like,
It is my. I care about this one less than any other match.
yeah.
I really. This is Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano, and as much as I love Rey Mysterio, who, for the record, El Grande Americano, because that name will be forgotten if anybody watches this podcast after 2 weeks from now. It is Chad Gable in a mask.
Yeah.
So I love Rey Mysterio. I think Chad Gable is a very good wrestler. I do not give two shits about this match.
I think for this match specifically, I see Rey winning it so they can amass El Grande Americano and we see it's Chad. And for that one reason, I don't care about this match. I'm just happy that Chad Gable gets a singles WrestleMania match. Because he deserves it. Because again, I feel like Chad Gable gets sniffed out a lot, like for a lot of things when it comes to like championship opportunities. I feel like you could have made him icy. They had such a great story last year about him chasing Gunther to beat him, and then he trains Sammy, and then Sammy wins, and then they don't pay, and then this would have been a perfect time for if you're gonna turn Chad heel to have him go over Sammy. They never did that. They saved that for Braun because Braun got brought up, which fair because Braun's a fucking freak. But that being said, I'm excited. I'm happy that Chad gets a WrestleMania match, a singles WrestleMania match. And I think it's kind of like a credit, like a hey, here you go, man, for doing all the great work in the mid card that you've been doing. He's entertaining as all hell, man. I love Chad Gable as a character. He is such a fun heel to hate, and he's got really great comedic timing. Absolutely love it. I'm just glad he's getting it. But this match is pretty much like my throwaway match where it's a pretty one. I see Rey winning, unmasking El Grande Americano, seeing that it's Chad, and everyone's super like, oh my gosh, we all knew it, and da 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 da. But yeah, Rey wins this one. Versus Chad versus El Grande Americano. But what do you? How do you? Who do you see winning this one? Since you don't care about this match at all.
Okay, right. So realistically, I do think it could go either way. I expect Rey to win purely for the exact same thing as you said. Rey wins and then unmasks him, and oh look, it's all over. Because I don't. But unless they really want to draw this storyline out for God knows what reason, I don't see the point. That's the only reason that they'd give Chad Gable, sorry, El Grande Americano, the win. I think the fact that he's hailing from the Gulf of America is a very dangerous line for them to be walking, getting a little close to the too close to the political spectrum there and what have you, in why it is called the Gulf of America. So I think they want to put it to bed sooner than later, and I think the best way to do that is give Ray the win.
Yeah.
I am sure it will be a fine match, but if this match goes on any longer than, I mean, 5, maybe 10 minutes, if it gets that long, I'm going to be all right. I'm done. Ray, you've done your flips. Like Chad, you've hit a suplex or two. Just let's end it and move on.
Ray,
So,
you've done your flips. Oh my goodness.
That's not to belittle him. No pun intended.
No, of course not.
But like at the end of the day, Ray is getting on in years. He is at this point. He's just a thing they wheel out and say, "Hey, look at this. We've got a flippy man." He does top rope. Well, he doesn't do that much top rope shit anymore compared to what he used to do. But he like his work is that it's not the necessarily explosive power you see from a lot of other wrestlers, and you don't need that, obviously.
Yeah.
And I loved Rey Mysterio's style before he got old and got honestly slower. So like, the match will be fine as long as it doesn't go on too long. And sure, if I have to choose, I'll guess Rey Mysterio, but I'm so uninvested.
Fair. Now, going into another match where I was like, oh my gosh, just get it over with. I'm just tired of this same old feud. We got Jey Uso versus Gunther. And man, oh man, did they save this match and save this WrestleMania moment and feud in the last 2 weeks. Because, oh my God, it was awful. The build was awful. It was awful. I'm like, Jay, how am I supposed to be taking you serious if you're yeeting all over the place all the time? You're having matches against A-Town. Exactly. You're having matches against A-Town down under. I don't see how you beat Gunther. Like, you don't beat Gunther. Now, I'm invested. Now I'm like, okay, because the prediction is going to be kind of pretty easy for me. I see Jey Uso winning this match. It's like
no question.
It has to happen. But now I can get behind the idea of Jey winning this match now because of what happened with Gunther absolutely destroying Jimmy, fucking wiping his blood all over him. Like, that shit was fucking crazy. And then Jay's promo,
it was grim in a good way, weirdly.
And then Jay coming out the following week and actually being serious and actually cutting out one of his best promos he's ever done in his entire career, where I'm like, all right, Jay's gonna beat Gunther's ass. Like, he's just like, it's not gonna be like a one-weighted match. It's not going to be. But like, I can visibly see Jay not losing this match now from a storytelling perspective because of what Gunther did to Jay. Because if he went over before, I'm just like, all right, he took him 3 fucking times to finally beat him. All right, yay, let's go. We knew this was going to happen. But now the storyline makes sense for me, where I'm like, I can see Jay winning. So when they do pull the trigger and give Jay his moment at WrestleMania of winning the title, it's believable to me from a viewer's perspective, not from someone who's been watching wrestling for 30 years and kind of knows the way they do matches and championships and moments. Now, from a viewer's perspective, I can take my spectators, what's the word? I don't know what I'm trying to say. I lost it. But
I get it. You're not using your knowledge of how things work. Yes. You're able to watch it as a fan and just enjoy the moment.
Exactly. Thank you, Nick. Yeah, it's exactly what it is. I can now watch it as a fan and enjoy this moment versus watching it from that perspective and not enjoying it. But yeah, for that one, I think Jay wins this match. I think it's going to be actually a really good match. I think they're going to put the opinion online that Jay can't wrestle to bed on this one. And I think he's going to have a really, really good match with Gunther. I think Gunther's going to make him look like $1 million. I think Jay is going to do all the things. He's going to be that really good baby face you can get behind. Because no matter what people say, even me personally, who I'm not the biggest Jey Uso fan, he is so fucking over. Like that stadium in Vegas is going to be going bananas, and I can just see this scene now of him winning it and eating the 60,000 plus fans are all eating at the same time. Like
Yeah.
that scene's iconic, and it's like they can't like not take that opportunity and give that to Jay.
No, I agree. I think it was always going to be Jay winning.
Mm-hmm.
If for no other reason than, as you say, he's previously lost, what is it, 3 times to Gunther
Yeah.
to get to this point. And so it's like you lose 3, then you win the last one. The thing is, if you'd have lost, it's just a squash, and it's just like, and your singles career is over.
Mm-hmm.
So like that's that. So Jay was always going to win. I think you touched on most things already, in terms of how the storyline has been built over the last couple of weeks has done so much to make it more believable that Jay can win. However, what I think you've missed here is how the storyline over the last couple of weeks has made Gunther such a better heel.
Mm-hmm.
Because, in my opinion, right, Gunther, his in ring work was fine. Sometimes it could be a little stoic and almost like a little unexciting to watch because it's like it's too clean. He's a perfect wrestler, kind of, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Like he's good. He's just good,
It's a ring
right? There's
general.
no exactly right. He's doing what he's supposed to. He's like a German car. It does what it's supposed to do, but there's no soul behind it when you drive it. And that's what I always felt with Gunther. And the promo work was always the same with him in terms of just like he just looked down his nose at people, similar to what you kind of said about how Charlotte was when with her heel work. It's just like, I'm just good, you're not. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I don't consider you a real right. Whereas seeing Gunther really, really turn that heel heat up to 11 with what he did versus Jimmy, it gave him a sadistic edge, which we have not seen before. And I think that this has really brought something out in Gunther that is like has made him a much better character to watch. I think he's become much more entertaining as a result of this feud with Jey Uso. And like, while it was the right time, I think, to pull the trigger on Jey, he had all the crowd behind him and
Mm-hmm.
what have you. I think giving him a match, whether he'd have gone against Gunther or Cody, unimportant. I think him winning the Royal Rumble was the right thing to do.
Yeah.
I think it is weirdly. I think Gunther might actually be getting more out of this feud, even by losing, than Jay. And I think there is a lot riding on this match being a good match, but I really think it will be.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously you've got the 3-way match as the main event, but I think that this is going to be a strong contender for matches,
Yeah.
potentially.
100%. Yeah, I think it's going to be one of those matches where, like I said, I think they're gonna put to bed the fact that the meme that Jey Uso can't wrestle. Like you said, I think it's going to be a good match overall. They've saved this storyline, thankfully, and I'm excited for this match. But the outcome is predictable.
Mhm.
It very much is.
It
So
is.
yeah.
It is. Yeah.
So I guess from there we can go ahead and move on to the main event of night 1 of WrestleMania. This being the triple threat between Roman Reigns, Seth Rollins, and finally getting his main event, CM Punk. This is probably the match I am looking the most forward to, solely because of the talent in the ring at the same time. The storyline
Yeah.
behind it, I am not the biggest fan of how they got to this point, because I think and this is going to be the one match where we get a lot of we're gonna get a twist at the end. This is one of those matches where it's bound that there's going to be a
Yeah.
twist at the end that kind of sets up the next thing for these 3 guys. And that twist obviously being Paul Heyman, being a very pivotal part of the storyline. The favor that we think is Punk, is Paul being in Punk's corner, which he will be, which is honestly, as a fan of um, watching Punk that title run 10 years ago, loving that scene. And I think it kind of brings
Mhm.
now we're kind of moving into a new and what it does is just sets up so many different characters, which is why I'm excited for it. You've got
Yeah.
Seth Rollins probably now playing the main de facto heel role, even though he's an over as fuck baby face. You've got Punk.
Yeah, there's no real heel. I
There's
mean,
no
technically,
real.
Reigns is probably the closest thing to a heel,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
he's no way seen as a heel these days.
Exactly. And then you've got Punk, who's the wily veteran that everyone loves. And then you've got now Roman in a unique situation where he's almost not the tribal chief anymore because he said this line like, once Paul is no longer there is when I'm no longer tribal chief. And I'm like, now we're gonna get a new Roman possibly. Like, he still the tribal chief?
Mm.
Is that the bloodline storyline officially over now? Like, it's done, done, done. Like, this whole tribal chief stuff. Like, we might get a new version of Roman coming in. This match is really cool, and this is why this match is also very hard to predict for me because I don't know who's going to win this match. Because I don't think Punk needs to win because Punk got his main event and he's a veteran. I don't think Roman needs to win because it's Roman Reigns. And I don't think Seth needs to win. I don't think any of these characters really needs the win, which makes it so from a veteran wrestling perspective very hard to predict because I'm like, who needs to win? I don't know who needs to win because they're not trying to get a new
No.
character over. They're not trying to get anything over at this point. And so, for this reason only, this match is going to be amazing. It's going to be probably match of the night, probably a 5-star match, according to an old man who sits in his little desk and types stars into a computer. But it's going to be a really good match.
Best,
I don't
right?
know. It's going to be a really, really good match. And before I get my prediction, I do have one small bone to pick with the match itself. I truly believe that this match was not supposed to happen because The Rock was supposed to be here. And The Rock was supposed to take on Roman Reigns. And we were supposed to get a Seth versus Punk match, like their first official match at Mania. Now, this was blown away by January that this probably wasn't going to happen because they gave it to us in January, the Punk and Rollins match. But I think originally the matches that we were supposed to get was going to be Roman and Rock and Punk and Rollins in a match, singles match. But Rock wasn't able to do it, and this is why I get. And I would love to have seen a true give them 30 minutes Punk and Rollins match. I'm like, I want that so bad. I would have loved it. Like a full 30-minute match, like just main eventing, like a KO Sami Zayn level match where they just get to go in the ring.
Yeah,
I
I
would
get
have loved that so much. But I'm happy we
it.
got a triple threat. And I think for this reason, I think Rollins is going to win this match. I think Seth wins this match to put over possibly a new heel persona that he's going to be going with if he decides to go that route.
Yeah.
Justifying himself, be like, see, I told you, like, Punk wasn't this and Roman wasn't this. Because I think what it does is it sets Seth Rollins up to continue to be in this main event scene for the time being, chasing, depending on who wins night two's main event. Like him facing either doing in the world title scene or in the WWE title scene.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the swerve here is, and I don't know because people have been saying this online. I can't see it, but I think the swerve here is that in order to get over a heel Seth, if you're going to turn Seth heel, because he is over as, again, all these guys are over as crazy, is you put him with
Mm-hmm.
Paul Heyman and you make Paul Heyman make people hate Seth again. And I think,
Oh
and I
God,
think,
you're right.
and I think that's the swerve that we're gonna get in this match because you can't turn Punk heel because Punk, like, not saying that you can't because you can turn Punk heel because Punk's a great heel and Punk would be like, you want me to be heel? Fine, whatever. But it's like you can't turn Punk heel in a traditional way with Heyman, and Heyman's such a main part of this match that something's going to happen with Heyman for something to happen, and you can't because they've already unless Heyman screws Reigns over of winning the match, which okay, like does that make someone a heel? It makes Heyman a heel. Makes Heyman ever work with Reigns again, but does that make Punk heel? Not necessarily, because Punk doesn't need to cheat to win this match because there's no reason for him.
Hmm.
There's no there's no championship on the line. So why is Punk cheating to win this match so he can win the match? Like, this doesn't make any sense. So I feel like that's like this is where my Booker brain's getting in, and I'm like thinking of like all these outcomes. And I think the one outcome that I think will shock people is Seth winning this match and them doing so and him aligning himself with Paul Heyman. And I think that would be a cool closing shot for night one of WrestleMania, of winning. And but now I'm like thinking about it, and now I'm like not sure because I'm thinking about night two, and you kind
Okay,
of
so I say you sold it to me.
yeah, and now I'm thinking like, all right, because I know what I think's gonna happen in night two, and it better happen because if it doesn't happen, I'm gonna be upset with WWE. But
Okay, I'm interested to get to that one, but let's
okay,
stay
we'll
on
say
task,
that one.
right?
Okay, so I will change when we talk about it. My prediction will change solely on if if the heel wins on night two, then a face has to go over on night one.
The heel.
You can't have two bad guys going out on top at the end of the match. So that's where now I'm like, I don't know, but for the sake of it, because I've already like booked it already. I think Rollins wins with, and I think he aligns himself with Paul Heyman to swerve everyone, and it's going to be a really cool moment, and it gives Seth someone that can help put him over again as like this dastardly heel character that I think is where he's going to go. And then for the next run of this section, the SummerSlam run, as I like to call it, the 6 month run to SummerSlam. So
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I definitely think this is one of, if not the hardest match to call and get a prediction for, because as you say, it's the sheer weight of the talent. There is no bad wrestler here. There is no wrestler that needs booking in a specific way. However, you have just sold me on the Reigns win. Like this is not my prediction. Okay, I had a different prediction going into this, and I'm going to stick with that different prediction just to be different to you for the sake of it. But I'm telling you, what you've just described to me, like how I could see them booking Reigns going forward, I can see a heel turn. I do think it would be hard to do because he's so over. But you are right, Paul Heyman being with him, Paul Heyman can make anyone a heel,
yeah,
right? And still keep them over at the same time. It's crazy the work that Paul does. So, like, you have sold me on that being a potential thing. My prediction that I'm actually going to say and stick with is they give Punk the win. And it's pandering as fuck to the
yeah,
fans,
yeah.
right? I don't think there's any reason other than that. Punk has always wanted his WrestleMania moment, and you know, which so does sorry, did I say Reigns before? So does Rollins.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. Rollins, I think what you were saying, that Seth getting the win there with the heel turn. But I think Rollins also, I don't think has ever had a main event WrestleMania win short of when he cashed in Money in the Bank. Like he wasn't scheduled to be headlining it and what have you. His face wasn't on the posters. So he wants that same moment as Punk. But I think that Punk doesn't have as much left in the tank of him as Rollins does.
Yeah.
I think Rollins has got more years left in his career than
Oh, he
Punk.
does. Yeah, he does.
Um, and I think that it will pander to the fans. But I think out of the three of them, they're all over. Punk is more over,
Mm.
right? Punk is the one that every single time the three of them are coming out is getting the biggest cheers
Yeah.
from the fans. You know, like just like bar every single arena they've been in over the last few weeks, it is Punk that's getting the big chance, the big cheers and whatnot. And I think I think I told you not to talk about night two, but I think we already know both of the way that I'm predicting the same as you. If you have the heel win on night two, I think you have the face win on night one. But it's not necessarily about that balance. I think it is just they're going to give Punk the
Yeah.
moment that he desires. And then they can kind of like put it to bed. They never have to worry about giving him that moment in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever storyline he falls into is just like, well, shut up, stop complaining, do your damn job because you've had your moment in the sun.
Yeah.
Right? I think Punk is like, I'm not going to say Punk is over the hill, but Punk is as at the top of the hill as he's going to be, and it's only downhill from here.
Yeah.
Right? And I think if he doesn't have his moment now, he just won't have it.
Yeah.
And I think they want to be able to sell him as being a WWE man in the future, which is already a little tricky after what happened when he was with them, before his big breakaway and what have you. So while I don't necessarily want Punk to win, I think Punk wins for that reason.
Okay. Yeah, I like I said, like both. You said all predictions like for this one's so hard to say. Like as a CM Punk fan, I would love seeing him closing out the night, winning, confetti falling. That for me, as someone who loves CM Punk, the wrestler and the guy behind the scenes, like not like all his like not when he's like not a great person behind the scenes, but like his charity work and his like personality and how much he cares about the fans and stuff like that. He's just such a good dude, like outside of the ring as well. Like I as a fan, I just want him to have that moment. So I definitely would be okay with that as well. I'm just trying to like it's just. I just overcomplicated the story a little bit, but I would be down for it. I'd be down for it. I'd be down for the Rollins thing, and Reigns could win it too, and I wouldn't be upset either because it'd be like, okay, Reigns did it without Paul, like cool. I'm fine with whatever outcome.
Yeah. That's actually another good angle. You're right. If Reigns can win without Paul, that is not that I think he's ever needed Paul for the ring work. It's always been the promo work that he's needed him for. But I think that would be a good way to show, because we talked about Rollins, we talked about Punk, we haven't necessarily talked about Reigns. Him going without Heyman in his corner, without that hype man there, I think that is another angle you can shoot from. I think all of these guys winning is a perfectly viable like reason to have them win and to come out of it with a good shoot going forward. I think the reason both of us are landing on Rollins and Punk though is that as much as we can appreciate a Reigns win, I think that the fans in the arena, that would be the one that would be least satisfactory because we've already seen Reigns being a killing machine, unstoppable. And so winning in this triple threat match, I think is it just sort of sells the wrong image essentially. And it's like, yeah, cool, he won yet again, right? I think he doesn't need none of them need to win, but I think him winning sends the wrong message. So that's what I think. I think I would rather see Rollins win. Because I think what you described in terms of turning the heel, especially with Paul Heyman, would be really exciting to see. I'm not as up on Punk as you are, so while I'm predicting it, I'm using the word pandering because that's the way I see it. It is genuinely like I don't see it as being. I'm not saying that in a complimentary way, right? I think he is the one that is least deserving of the win. Frankly, he's not the best wrestler currently compared to the other two in that match. But that's my call for it.
Okay. All right. Cool. Well, night one is a wrap. We'll go over our quick predictions for night one really quick, just so in case you guys got lost in the sauce. So night one, we got the War Raiders, New Day. Me, Nick, both are saying the New Day for this one. Jade Cargill, Naomi, both are in agreement that Jade Cargill wins this one. LA Knight versus Jacob Fatu. Jacob Fatu for both of us. First difference, Tiffany Stratton, Charlotte Flair. I have Charlotte. He's got Tiffany. Rey Mysterio, El Grande, Americano. We don't give a fuck, but I guess Rey Mysterio. We both said Rey Mysterio. Jey Uso versus Gunther. Sure. Again, same page, Jey Uso. And then triple threat match. I have Rollins and he has Punk. All right. Moving on to night two. Already over an hour. Let's go. Jake's gonna have fun with this one.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Sorry.
All right, no, you're fine. You're
Sorry,
fine.
Jake.
Hey, no, we do this once a month. This can be as long as we want it to be. Okay. All right.
Yeah, absolutely. I think night 2 is the better night of the two nights without a
I
shadow of
agree.
doubt. It normally is,
Hmm.
and I don't think they're disappointing this
Yeah,
time
I
around.
agree.
There's no
I like all the
okay,
matches.
no, there's one match which I think is somewhat lackluster, but it's not as bad as Mysterio
Yeah,
Americano.
of course. All right, so night 2, and I definitely can see this being the opener of the match. The triple threat WWE Women's World Championship match between Io Sky, that is the champion, versus Rhea Ripley versus Bianca
Mhm.
Belair. Man, oh man, did they make me care? They built this matchup really well. I'm invested.
Yes, so well.
They did
Yeah,
a really good.
absolutely.
It's like the difference between this one and Tiffany and Charlotte's build up is like night and day. Like it's crazy, really good. The swerve of Rhea losing her match to Io and Io winning it, to getting Bianca involved because she won the chamber match, to Rhea getting back
Yeah.
involved, playing kind of like a quasi heel. I won't even say heel role. She's kind of playing the Stone Cold role of like tweening a little bit. Like she's in the wrong. Like she lost fair and square, and she's blaming Bianca for costing her the match. But like she's like, just because I'm the best, I'm like, fair enough. You are over as all hell. It won't be WrestleMania if you're not
Yeah.
on it. But kind of playing like that quasi heel. I would say I call it like the Austin role, where you're kind of tweening in between face and heel because you're a heel, but everyone loves you. Bianca getting
Mhm.
booed is crazy to me because she's not. People are. I hate to say it, I just think people are just
Are
racist.
they booing her at the moment? Is that what's happening?
Yeah,
Because
they're
like I've been really
they booed
unsure what the crowd reaction is with her.
they booed her in Europe and they booed her back home here. I'm not gonna lie. I think they might be a little be a little bit upset that she's not she's of a different pigmentation than the other two girls. I don't know what's going on because it's a little. It doesn't make sense to me why you don't like
Yeah,
Bianca, and so I'm not gonna get
I
into
don't get it.
I don't get it either. I'm not gonna get in that
No, God,
debate.
no, no.
That's not what this podcast is about. But she's getting booed at the moment, but she's definitely the face in this. And then Io is just a disrespected face who, going into my prediction, is going to win this match because she needs it.
Okay,
She needs
okay.
it. She needs it because
She does.
Rhea can win this championship at any time, and I just don't think she needs it. And Bianca could also win this one, but I also see Bianca not needing it. Like if you're gonna build like the top 3 women, like this is the match where the top 3 women, I always call it kind of like the new pillars of the women's revolution, women's division being
Hmm.
Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, and Bianca Belair.
Sure.
Io Sky is the one that does not get the credit that she deserves, and I think you can give Io Sky her moment of winning against this one because I think the match that's the better match down the line is going to be Rhea versus Bianca. And I think that is going to be the match down the line where I think that's the box office match because no disrespect to Io again, but those 2 women are kind of like your Charlotte and your Becky Lynch. Like those are your like 1A and 1B where they were
Yeah.
like Bianca was holding it down on SmackDown, Rhea was holding it down on Raw. They were the face of the division. And I think it's gonna be I think it's one of those matches where I feel like the real match down the line is going to be a really big feud between Rhea and Bianca, and I think the way you get there is by having Io win this match, and you set up again because we WWE have proven that they do not need to put these women they do not need to have a title to tell a women's storyline. They've done it with Jade and Naomi, so I think they can also do it with Rhea and Bianca by having a normal match, a proper build without a title, where I think it is it does the due diligence of giving us that match because I think Io deserves it. Io has proven time and time again in every match that she's been in that she works amazing. She puts people over. She sells her butt off really well. And
Hmm.
and if I'm putting like fantasy booking goggles on, I think the next match for like the next feud for her is a feud with Liv Morgan after Mania.
Okay.
I think this that's the next logical feud because you can't do Liv and Rhea again. And I don't think I don't think Bianca stays on Raw because I think they need a little bit more star power on SmackDown, or they flip flop and they put Rhea on SmackDown. Um, they need some more star power over there, and I think the logical next feud would be like a Liv versus a Bianca or a Io. And I would much rather see Io doing it. And I think they've been disrespecting Io so much during this build up. I think it would be the one where
Yeah.
everyone's not expecting Io to win. And I will say one thing about Triple H. Triple H loves Io Sky. And if he wants to,
Does he?
he will book her to win. And so not for that reason alone, but I think Io will be that like that dark horse person in there where she's going to be getting all the offense and she's going to be like, I told you guys I was not this pushover champion that you guys thought I was, and she's going to win and surprise a lot of people and surprise those two and make hopefully those two
Yeah.
realize that they are not as good as they think they are.
That's fair. That's fair. Yeah, I think it's another hard one to call.
Yeah.
In my mind, because I think that as much as I have grown to appreciate what EO is dishing out, particularly
Yeah.
over this build-up period over the road to WrestleMania.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I in my heart, Rhea is the best woman. Like, okay, Charlotte aside, who's like, the vet and what have you. Rhea is. You talk about these being the three pillars. I feel like Rhea is the biggest of the
Okay.
pillars, right? I think that she
Yeah.
is the one that needs it the least,
Mm-hmm.
as you say, but also is probably the most deserving of it.
Okay.
So I think that who I want to win is Rhea, because I feel like that is the right and proper victor of this match. If there weren't writers involved, but the moment you get writers involved, that's when you have to look at things differently. And I think everything you said about EO is probably right. I think that the Bianca and Rhea, uh, you're right. Don't need it as much as EO does. I think EO's biggest problem at the moment is her promo work, which is predominantly because English is not a first language.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, that is always a hurdle that any wrestler that comes into the business which doesn't speak English as their first language, they have to overcome that hurdle, because if they don't, they will never make it to be like the big headline draw, because unfortunately the majority of the fan base is more English speaking than any other language, at least in the countries where they put on these shows, right? I'm not saying that WWE isn't loved around the world, but I'm saying where it is presented most of the time is in English-speaking countries, and you can see that from the pops that these ladies have been getting when they're coming out to the ring. Regardless of the order they're coming out, EO never gets the same size cheer as the other ones, and so I think keeping her with the belt gives her more chance to essentially practice this promo work, because she needs it. I don't think they'll keep it on her necessarily for long, because if she doesn't get better, then you have just got a champion that is not being cheered for in the way that they should be being cheered for. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's maybe some work going into that promo stuff behind the scenes or what have you, I could say, because that is where she's falling down. But in ring work, it is great. I think EO winning it's a good moment to give her. It does the same thing as what I think giving Jacob Fatu the US belt would do, in terms of like adds credibility that she was able to win a triple threat match against two of the biggest names in the business at WrestleMania and retain the championship. So yeah, prediction wise, EO, but with a caveat that I would much prefer to see real.
Yeah, fair. No, that's fair. And before we touch on it, I'll move on. I do just want to point out one thing that I think me and you also need to remind everyone. Like, we understand that EO is great because she held the WWE Women's Championship last year for a long period of time as well. So she's gotten her opportunities as well to do it. I just think in this, like we said, in this match, where you don't really need to put anyone necessary, like the other two on the match don't need to be put over because they're already over enough as it is. Like, again, like if one of them would like had turned heel or something like that, then it'd be a different story where like, okay, you got to put over this new character. But since they're all playing the babyface role and Rhea's playing you just don't boo Rhea. Like you can never, like literally WWE can never turn her heel because they will not boo her. Like they have to do something really
I think they'll try to.
Yeah, but they're gonna have to do something really crazy for people to boo Rhea. So who knows how they do that? But that being said, like we said, Io definitely wins this match. It's definitely gonna be the right outcome, and I'm excited for it. So moving on, we've got probably the one match where I think you said something earlier in this podcast, or you said that that Finn's the only one that could carry a singles match. That, not gonna lie, that made me a little disappointed. A little disappointed.
No. Okay, to clarify, on the scale of WrestleMania, I am not saying these guys are not good in singles matches. I'm saying on this scale.
I know. I was gonna clarify right before you jumped in. It's like he did say though on a WrestleMania. So I was gonna clarify that. I was gonna clarify that because I was just like, because at first I'm like, what did you just say? Penta cannot carry a singles match, sir. But that being said, but on a WrestleMania scale,
are too fresh faced, realistically.
Exactly.
Balor has been doing this for donkey's years compared to the rest of them.
Exactly.
At least in WWE, I know obviously Penta has been doing shit beforehand and whatnot. I don't know a lot of his background, but I know he's already proved himself elsewhere.
Exactly.
So yeah, but I'm just on this scale, Balor is the only one that you would expect to see, if nothing else.
100%. But yeah, the Fatal 4-Way.
Since I've got, go on.
Yeah, so Fatal 4-Way match, IC title, Braun Breaker is champion versus Penta versus Finn Balor versus Dominic Mysterio. Nick, who do you got, and what do you see happening?
Okay. My prediction, Dirty Dom wins. I got Dirty Dom winning this belt, and let me explain. First of all, as much as I say Balor is the only one that I think could do on this scale singles match, I think he's the only one which is guaranteed not to win this match, frankly. Yeah. I'd be shocked if of these four people, they go, you know who really needs the push? Finn Balor. No, not at all. So, okay, Dom winning is, I'll get to why I think Dom wins in a moment, but I think Penta has been pushed. He's only recent into the WWE. They clearly want to build him well, and they have been doing, but I don't think, I think that giving him a title so early would actually negatively impact him, because I think so often you see new stars come in, get given a title right off the gate, and it's like their WWE's way of giving someone a push and saying, hey, you should maybe take note of this person. And I think it ends up backfiring so much because a lot of the fans are like, yeah, sure, we'll pay attention to them, but they haven't done their time. They haven't earned this. And I think it would negatively impact Penta. I think he's got other work to be doing to build himself up as a name in the company, and I don't see him holding the belt as helping that. Breaker, Breaker is actually surprisingly good on the mic when they give it to him. They never seem to give him the mic. Yeah. It's always just presenting him as, this dominant force in the ring. And frankly, while I think him having held his belt for this period of time has been good for him, I think he should be focusing elsewhere before he goes back to holding the belt. I think he needs a little bit of a break from this and to do other work and have the opportunity to work with more people. And I think that is what builds him up. Balor, and then Dom winning in comparison to Balor, I think that gives us the storyline which has been threatened for months now, the potential breakdown of the Judgment Day. Mm-hmm. I think when I say Dom wins, I could see Dom pinning Finn for the belts. Mm-hmm. You pin Finn for the belt. It doesn't make Breaker or Penta look weak because they don't lose. If you get what I'm saying, they're not the ones that got pinned. They're not the ones that tap out. But I could see Finn being laid out in the ring by somebody else. Like Breaker lays Finn out. Dom comes in, attacks Breaker, throws him out of the ring, and then like Penta's down out of the ring, Breaker's down out of the ring, Balor's lying in the middle, and so I was just like, oh, screw it, I'll take my opportunity, which, I mean, considering obviously the history there, seems like a very Eddie Guerrero thing to do, of just like, you lie, cheat, you steal that win, even if it's against your teammate Balor, who has been disrespectful to him. Like, I think it does so much more for Dom than it does for anyone else.
Mm-hmm.
It gives us the storyline we want, and it allows Breaker and Penta to focus on what I think they need to, which is building themselves up in other ways, other than just holding the belt.
Yeah.
So that's my call on it. Like, you might not like the idea of Dom winning, but that's my prediction.
Well, Nick, you nailed it right on the head because you stole literally verbatim what I was going to say. Nick knows
Guys,
this.
we have not discussed this beforehand. We make a point of not talking about shit too much. So that we can save it all for now.
We'll pull up the Discord chat just for people to understand where we're starting to talk. Like, oh, stop talking. Where we need to discuss this for say this. Yeah, I have Dom winning. For the storyline purposes of this is the final nail in the coffin for the Judgment Day. How I see him winning, and this is only because I absolutely adore Finn Balor, the wrestler. I love Finn Balor. I don't want to see him eat another pin. He's like, it's awful. Like, I just don't want him to see it, but I definitely can see Dom either pinning Balor, kind of like in a quasi Jeff Hardy way, where Finn's got the match won, he's pinning them, and then Dom comes in from like a frog splash, like off the camera, hits Finn, but pins the guy underneath of him and takes the win that way. I could see that kind of going that way, like a kind of a swerve. But I also like your prediction of him just cheating his way to the victory because it's just such in Dom and Eddie's like way of doing things. But yeah, I have Dom winning it, and you nailed the head right. You nailed it right on the head in the sense of like it's the Judgment Day breaking up. I think Dom deserves it because, in my opinion, Dominic Mysterio has been the most hated guy in the company for a long time. He does great heel work, and people now are like, it's kind of like you say, you love to hate him, and to the point where they actually start loving you. And I love that because I love Dominic Mysterio. I think he's a great character. I think he has improved tremendously in the ring, like over the past couple of years. Like,
he's clearly worked very hard.
And the fact
you can tell.
Yeah, and the fact of the matter, I think this guy's like maybe 25, 26 years old. He's going to be one of the top guys in this company for a really, really long time. Yeah. And it's just fitting. He deserves a singles title. And like you said about Braun and Penta, like Braun has held this belt for a long time, and I think Braun can do great things. Where again, he's kind of like going to be one of those future guys. Like, you can just already tell by the way he's booked and the way he looks. He's got the WWE look that, and I'm necessarily not saying it's time to push him like all the way up there, but like give him see if he can handle some singles feuds with some top guys without the belt on the line. See how well he can do with that.
That's what I'm saying.
See where he's at, maybe put him up with, maybe put him in a match with a Gunther after he loses the belt, or put him in a match with Jay. Not Jay. Jay has already faced Braun a couple times. Put him in a match maybe with Rollins. Put him in a match with someone. Put him in a match with with Punk or something like that. Punk doesn't got a title. Put him in a program with someone and see how well he can do, and see if he's ready for that. Because if he can hold his weight in a main event promo scene, then you can go ahead and put him in the title scene if you want. But if not, you can always usher him back down to the IC title reign and have him work with the likes of Sheamus and stuff like that. And the same thing with Penta. Penta doesn't need a title, because not necessarily saying that they like what I feel like titles do to young guys as it protects them, and it doesn't necessarily give them the best opportunities for us to see them for who they are, right? Yeah. Like, it's just like Braun's the champion. Braun is the champion, cool, but I just know that Braun's the champion and he spears guys really hard. What else is his character work, right? Penta has gotten over really well with the fans, so you put that belt on. He can't lose that belt for like 3 or 4 months because you don't want to. You don't want him to lose the belt and then lose all that momentum. And when you're not holding a belt, you can lose a couple matches. Not saying you can lose a lot of matches, but you can lose a couple matches to these guys, and it doesn't necessarily hurt you. It's like,
Yeah.
hey, you're not quite ready to take on this guy yet. But if you give them the belt at such an early stage in their career or in their developmental, you can't really usher the belt off of them super quickly. Because you don't want them to look weak off the thing. Like, you could give Penta the belt, but then Penta is going to have to hold it for till SummerSlam possibly, because then you can't have him lose that belt to like the likes of a Chad Gable coming in, or the likes of a Finn Balor or a Dominic Mysterio or a Braun Breaker that might want to get his rematch in. Like, you can't do that with these guys. So you nailed it right on the head. These young guys, they don't necessarily need the belt right now. They can work their way up to it. And I'm 100% for Dom winning, because Dom has honestly been carrying Raw kind of like semi on his back with the Judgment Day storyline for the better part of a year. And him and Liv are just they're that it couple on screen, and that just having them both hold gold is just a good look for him.
I think as well, like him with Liv will allude to another match which is coming up a little later on. But I could see Liv potentially taking the women's IC belt and having the two of them as a couple as both IC champion. Like, I think that there's certainly a potential for like a very iconic photo or something with the two of them in that regard. So
100%.
Not that match is on the cards.
Yes, 100%. All right, moving on to the third match. We've got Damian Priest versus Drew McIntyre I
am very excited about
and a Vegas street fight match. Yeah, man, this is one of those matches where the dirt sheets were saying Drew was a little disappointed that he wasn't getting a title match or a really kind of main event thing. But because, I mean, to be fair, for like, again, this is the behind the scenes. Who knows? Like, you can only believe the dirt sheet so much. But as someone who loves McIntyre so much, I really fully believe, again, you could have had McIntyre go against Reigns. Like, again, the whole triple threat thing, because the whole story, like, he's trying to get revenge on the Bloodline, and he could have had him in a match with Reigns or something like that as well, to like for the ultimate revenge. Like, I definitely could have seen that being a thing if they weren't going to give him like a title match or a proper main event. That being said, those two have made me care about this feud. They have done an amazing job at building this matchup, which is, again, why, God, you hear the saying all the time that WWE has a title problem in the sense they have so many titles. But like, these are the guys, man, where I'm like, fuck, I wish they had a title. Fuck, like, they deserve it, because they're that good, man.
Yeah.
Like, McIntyre's that good. Priest has only gotten better and better and better. And in this match, it's also one of those matches where I feel like it's semi hard to predict, because either guy, like, they lose, it's fine. But if they win, all it does for me in my mind is shoots them into the next contender for whatever title they're chasing for the next couple weeks. And for that reason alone, I think I think McIntyre wins this match, because McIntyre has been on kind of like a losing streak a little bit. So I feel like you got to give him a little bit of a win. I mean, there's been a mean lull. Drew loses to a roll up, ha ha ha, kind of thing. And I think we got to give. This is a perfect match as well, since this is a street fight where it is going to be carnage. Drew does really well at being a crazy motherfucker. Really, really well. And I think this match is going to be a great match either way. I see Drew just winning this match finally and feeling justified that he belongs. Like, he did it. He's ready. He's going to the next title, whoever he's facing. Yada yada yada. Like, again, the Drew, like, easily can see Drew winning this and them shoehorning him back over to Raw and having him take on Jay in the summer program. Like, I can easily see that. Sure. I can see that for sure. But also, if Priest wins, man, I wouldn't be upset about that either, because I love Priest as well. Priest is one of those characters where I'm like, I'm not sure about Priest, because sometimes he does really well, and then sometimes he doesn't do super well, in the sense of his booking well. But he's, again, great on the mic, and again, he's a believable person that he beats Drew. I'm like, fair enough. But for the match itself, I have Drew winning. It's going to be a great match. It's going to be crazy spots. I'm excited for this match, and they've done a really good job about making me care. But personally, I don't care who wins. Personally, I don't care who wins. I'm fine with whoever wins. But I think Drew wins this match.
You know what you said about me taking the words out of your mouth for the previous match? Ditto, man. Like this, this is one of those matches which I am super excited for no other reason than I think it's just going to be a dope fucking match, man. Like I think that this is just going to be an absolute killer. It doesn't need to be a street fight in my mind. I think the two of them would have a great one-on-one, no gimmick match. But adding in that street fight quality, I think it adds something to the entire pay per view, which you don't have anywhere else really on the card in terms of like, you know, getting nitty and gritty with it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think for prediction wise, I don't know. Like what I was saying, I don't care about the Rey Mysterio and El Grande fight. I don't care who wins this one because I just think it's going to be a good match. It's almost for the very opposite reason that I don't care who wins, because I think whoever wins, we as the fans win.
Yeah.
Right? That's what really happens here. I like if I'm forced to choose because we're doing predictions here. So I am also going to choose Drew McIntyre, but that's more so because I want him to win.
Yeah.
It's like, honestly, it is a coin toss. It is entirely 50-50. Either one of them winning would be a perfectly fine booking. But I like Drew McIntyre more. I am slightly biased because, he's pretty much he's the only good British wrestler we've got at the moment, and possibly the best British wrestler that we've ever had. So yeah, I am 100%, hometown hero pedestaling this guy right now for me. Even though he's Scottish and Scottish people tend to hate the English, but we as the English we look past that. And the moment if someone from Scotland's doing well, they're not Scottish, they're British.
There you go.
So I would like him to win, so I'm going to make that prediction for that reason. But I don't think if Priest wins, I'm not going to be a case of like, oh well, I was wrong on that one. It's like no, this is a fucking coin toss. This is calling heads and tails when it's in the air. Like this is, I would just. You are right that I think whoever wins may get a slight push towards the next title opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And for that reason, great, give it to Drew.
Yeah.
But this is just a feud. This is just going to be like pure good carnage to watch. This is going to be just a fantastic match.
Yeah.
I don't care who wins.
100% agree, man. All right, next match on the docket, which was previously probably going to be the match I was going to be most excited for the storyline they were telling. Unfortunately, rest well KO. He had a really bad neck injury. He's going to be out for almost 12 to 16 months now. So
I heard 2 to 5 years.
Yeah, it's rough. It's rough. God bless him. If we never see him again, what a career! And if we do see him again in the ring, man, I cannot wait to see KO back. That being said, it's Randy Orton versus somebody. Before we predict who we think the somebody is going to be, in my opinion, no matter who this somebody is or whatever they do, Randy Orton wins this match regardless of who it is. Yeah, I think that's a pretty easy prediction to go for. Because unless they wheel in some crazy guy, like I'm talking like someone who's under contract somewhere else. I don't see anyone. I don't see Randy Orton losing a match to anyone. So the mystery opponent, we don't know who it's going to be yet. We may find out by SmackDown. I personally hope we don't find out by SmackDown. I hope they kind of do a Rollins thing where we don't know who the opponent is until they walk out, kind of thing. I want them to do that personally, but who knows what they do?
Yeah.
People are like the room. People are saying it could be Solo because of what that happened last week, which I hope it's not because I don't want to get nothing against Solo.
But
Nothing against Solo
no,
Sokoa.
everything gets Solo. I don't enjoy watching with a wrestler. He's shit to watch. He's boring. The only thing he's got is that big thumb, and I'm really sorry, but like I am not a Solo fan. That is the only thing that we've had a hint at in terms of who it could possibly be, and I'm just praying to all the gods that might be up there that that is not the match that we get.
And I
Like, oh my god,
and,
that would be fucking shit.
and I think that reaction that you just gave is the reason why we won't get that match. There's also rumors saying that the GM Nick Aldis might come out and wrestle because he was a great wrestler on the Indies for a really long time. Which would be cool because I've watched some of Nick Aldis's matches in
Sure.
TNA. Like they could go that route, and I'd be okay with that. But I think that the match is going to be 2 different people. Could be 2 people. It could be Sammy.
Okay.
It could be Sami Zayn coming out and kind of like a
Yeah.
tribute to KO, or it could be a returning Aleister Black, which I think would be really cool to see as well. Or there's also a rumor they've also re-signed Rusev, and I could also see them possibly like I can imagine the way they got I can't remember his name. I can't remember the guy's name, but the guy who did the Rusev Day thing to come out and do that Rusev Day thing with people where he's like getting people over. That was the most over thing. People loved Rusev Day. And they could have them do that. That'd be a cool pop. So I see potentially 3 people in that thing. I don't know who it could be. And I would be fine with whoever it is. Personally, I would love to see Aleister Black because I love Aleister Black. I loved his stuff in NXT. When I watched him in NXT, he had a terrible main roster run. So please do not hold them against him. Vince McMahon did not know what they were doing with that man. But I would love to see.
He didn't know a lot of things.
Yeah, I would love to see. Personally, I would love to see Aleister Black just pop up at WrestleMania. It'd be a really cool moment. Or Sami Zayn, and either or, we're gonna get a good match. But I think Orton comes out. But Nick, who do you think will be Randy Orton's opponent, or who do you want? I guess the fun thing with this one is who do you want to be Randy Orton's
Who do you
opponent?
want?
That makes sense.
Okay,
that makes sense.
Yeah. So my only 2 guesses were Solo because of what we saw on SmackDown just gone, which I'm praying it isn't. Or as you said, the Sami Zayn in tribute to KO. That I think that at least would be a cool and entertaining match. Like I think they would have a good one. Again, in either case, I would say that Randy wins it. In terms of who I would want to see, like I don't know. Because the thing is, Randy's at a weird spot in his career where he is like probably one of the longest running, if not the longest running, male superstars still going. Like you could argue Cena, maybe. I'm not sure which one came onto the scene first, but like Cena's not really on the main roster as you think of it. Whereas Randy supposedly is, right? He might go out for a while and then come back, and you could argue he's more part time now, but realistically, he's still like you think of him as being a main roster wrestler, right? And I think that if you bring in much new talent versus him, then you almost want to put over the newer talents because it's someone like Randy winning gains nothing for his career unless you're then going to make him push for the title, which could well happen, but I don't think it's great. So, like, in my head, I'm just like, who is like the older wrestlers that could come out and just almost have like one last match that he maybe he's had a match with in the past or whatnot, and you know we get to see it another time. And I just don't know who's left on the roster that isn't already fighting that could bring out. So I don't know. I am genuinely at a loss. Like it's Solo or fingers crossed, more likely Sami Zayn is the only one that I could think of them doing because it being KO that's out. But other than that, I honestly have nothing. Is there? I mean, you've said obviously who you think it might be, but I mean, I don't think they bring somebody out of retirement for it or anything like that.
No.
That's lackluster as well. So I mean, maybe you know what? Maybe Ray Phoenix has just come in. They've been trying to promote him well. Like, I think
Yeah.
Ray Phoenix getting in there, giving him just like, you know what? You're not going to win a match. You're not in any titles, but like, here,
Yeah.
have a WrestleMania match. That could be good. And I've been enjoying. Like, he's only done, I think, 2 shows so far. I have very much enjoyed watching Ray Phoenix the
Yeah.
last couple of weeks. He's good, man. He's good.
It's
I
good.
think
It's a
they're
good
going to
shout.
push him in feud in a different way. So I doubt it's him, but I think that is another name that they absolutely could just throw into the mix and be like, you know what? Fuck it. You've done well your first couple of times. Throw it on a bigger stage. Nobody's expecting anything of you, kind of thing.
Yeah.
You know,
For sure.
Randy's going to win regardless, so it doesn't matter. But like, just get out there and have a moment. Um, but yeah, it's anyone's guess. I think my money would go on Sami Zayn.
Okay.
Uh, But yeah, I agree with you. I hope they don't announce it and we just get a surprise on the night.
There we go. Perfect. Yeah. Definitely. Let's go. And then moving on to another match, which I'm a little semi down on, not 100% like super excited for this match. That being said, I think it's gonna be a great match. This is gonna be AJ
Yeah.
Styles versus Logan Paul. For this
Mhm.
one, I think it's gonna be a great match. I've liked the build so far. But I think, and I'm sorry, AJ, but I think Logan wins this match. And the only reason why I think Logan wins this match is one, to kind of get it again. Every time he goes to WrestleMania, he pretty much loses anyways. So it's kind of like, all right, we get it. Like, he can't beat
Who, AJ or Logan?
Logan. Logan loses quite a bit at
Okay.
WrestleMania. He lost to Rollins.
Really?
He lost to he lost to, I believe he lost to Ray. Who did he face last year? I can't remember who he faced. He faced someone last year and he lost that one.
Your memory for the pay per view results is so much better than me. I just have my memories of Logan Paul is that he seems to win most of his
Yeah.
PLE matches. I'm
Yeah.
not saying explicitly Manian, but like
Yeah.
that's the way I sit. Like I think his record is more
Oh yeah,
positive than negative. I'm fairly sure of it.
yeah, and he lost this US title to LA Knight at WrestleMania last year. So, it definitely is one where I feel like they might give him the win because, he hasn't won in at least the past 2 WrestleManias. I know for a fact he hasn't won in the past 2. Um and I think they're cooking some type of storyline with AJ Styles and Karrion Kross right now, which I think is going to be which is going to get Karrion Kross, because I love his character work. I love the fact that he gets 5 minutes every episode of Raw and he absolutely kills it. He absolutely kills it. And so I'm 100% ready to see more of him. And I think you can get a good proper feud with him and AJ Styles. And I think that the catalyst to make that feud a thing is for AJ to lose. And I think that's why AJ loses at WrestleMania to Logan Paul. Besides that, I think it's gonna be a great match. I think AJ and Logan Paul are gonna work magic together. I think AJ is gonna really make Logan look like $1,000,000, and Logan's gonna already look like $1,000,000 because when he gets in the ring, he knows what the fuck he's doing. He's really good in the ring. But yeah, that's my prediction.
Yeah. I'm going to go the other way.
Okay.
I'm disagreeing with you. I think Styles wins this one.
Okay.
For almost the same reason. Like in my memory, I have Logan winning more than losing at these things. Maybe not at Mania, as you say. I'm sure he's got to have won at Mania at least once. So has he never done that?
He might have won one
to your
time at one. He's only had 3 Mania matches. I know that for a fact. So this will be his 4th one.
Right. Okay. But I think that Logan Paul is like he's so hated by everybody, and I think that based on everything we've talked about on there has not been a feel good moment on this night. You could say Randy winning, but like it's not a match that's going to matter. And I think that AJ Styles putting Logan Paul down is the feel good moment that you want to give the fans for the inevitable heartbreak that both of us have already basically given our predictions on for what is coming later in the night. I think that Logan's just been like a cheeky little kid in this build up. it's not been a great storyline in the slightest. It feels very forced because it is very forced. Um, but I think that it would give the fans more that they want, not to see AJ win, but to see Logan lose. But regardless of that, I would prefer Logan winning because I really like Logan as a wrestler, and I acknowledge that he's only good as a wrestler because he's only ever put up against other good wrestlers,
Mm-hmm.
and they make him look good. And this match is no difference. It's going to be AJ doing the work to make Logan look good, although Logan can actually do what he needs to do in the first place. Like, I'm not taking anything away from it. I think he's great. I think every single match he's in is absolutely brilliant to watch. But as much as I would like Logan to win for that reason, plus it's always good to love a heel. Like Logan is that heel that like I recognize everyone hates him, and I'm just like, oh, but you're just a cheeky guy, aren't you?
Yeah, I got you.
That I kind of get behind him. But I think AJ wins it because I think that's what people would want to see. I
Mhm.
think you don't need this storyline to go anywhere, so why the fuck not just give the face the win and have everyone feel happy for a moment
Yeah.
before what happens later on in the night?
100%. So the correction, I did look over my stuff. I was wrong. Logan has had 3 matches. He has won 2, lost 1. He has won his first
Thank
ever.
you.
Yeah. He won his first match against the Mysterios with him and Miz on his first match. He
Yeah.
lost to Rollins, and then I don't know. I guess I got SummerSlam mixed up, but he last year he defended his U.S. title against KO and Randy Orton and won due to an interference to some guy. So he definitely has a winning record. I don't know why I was thinking. I thought for some reason I thought he lost against. For some reason I thought him and LA Knight feuded at WrestleMania, and LA Knight, that's when LA won his first U.S. title. But I was wrong. So, but yeah, my prediction still stands. I still think maybe now not because Logan necessarily hasn't won a lot of WrestleMania, but I think Logan wins because I think they're gonna cook a storyline between him and AJ Styles and Cross, and I think in order to do that, AJ needs to
Yeah,
lose. So, all right, cool. So
that's
next
fair. That's
match,
fair.
we now have confirmation. It is the women's tag team match against Liv and Raquel
Yeah.
versus Bailey and Lyra Valkyria. And to be completely honest with you, I do not care about this match in the slightest, just because it just recently got announced because there's been no proper build. We'll see if they build it up to on Monday on Raw and on SmackDown before WrestleMania. But for that reason alone, I think this match is very predictable. I think Liv and Raquel win because they should win. You cannot have Liv. I'm sorry, Liv has had a career year from start to finish this year. And
Mhm.
God, I would feel so bad if they lose the tag team titles to Bailey and Lyra Valkyria. Not and because they're not a real tag team, like they just worked together this one time. They literally just had a title match on Monday, and now they're a tag
Yeah.
team. And so for that reason alone, I think the match prediction is pretty easy. I think Liv and Raquel when I think they have a absolutely amazing fucking match. I think this might be like it might be a show stealer kind of match, depending if they give it enough time. Because all of these women work really well. Liv and Raquel work really well as a tag team together. I mean, Lord, like their tag team match against Bianca and Naomi on Raw was amazing. And
Hmm.
Lyra and Bailey are 2 single stars that know, and I know Lyra, I know down in NXT they teach them how to work tag teams. So I know Lyra's got experience working in a tag team, and I know Bailey was in a tag team with Sasha, and they had really good matches then. So I think it will be a good match, but I do think Liv and Raquel win this match just because it would be such a slap in the face of a tag team to lose to a tag team that just formed like 2 days ago. And that's why I don't see that
Yeah.
happening. And I think it also feeds into kind of your prediction. I think this ultimately leads to Liv winning the IC women's title from Lyra at some point down the line.
Yeah.
I don't know if they drop the tag team titles in order for that to happen. I don't see it because it's not really like I can see them like tag team and a singles championship. Definitely like I can see that being like a double like that's like I can see a double champion that way be working just fine. It's just I don't know if that's the way WWE will work it with, but I think Liv will challenge Lyra for the tag team champion for the IC title, or someone for the IC title at some point, and she will win that. And I think that leads to a match between Liv and Lyra for a singles match for the IC title, which I think Liv does win, because while Lyra is a great wrestler and she's been good as IC Women's Champion, I think it needs a more stronger person to hold that belt to make it seem more important, which is why I feel that it's not being defended at WrestleMania. And that's why it's in the tag team. They got to show one of the mid-card belts because the U.S. Women's Championship is not on the card, which I think is a disservice.
Which, I mean, I feel like I want to talk about, I absolutely want to talk about that for just a second. And I'm going to take this away from this conversation, but it's Chelsea Green, right?
Yeah.
She absolutely should be defending that belt.
Yeah.
We have not seen enough of her. I would prefer her defending that belt to at least a couple of the matches on this card where, belts aren't involved, and it's just like who gives, like, why the hell have we got Rey Mysterio versus El Grande Americano as opposed to Chelsea Green defending her fucking women's US belt? They've only recently introduced these women's mid-card belts. They should be making a bigger deal of them. And then the fact that they're not it's criminal, it's doing a disservice. Unless Chelsea is for some reason injured, and I'm only saying this because did you see the match this SmackDown, which was like it was a count out and it was over before it started. Like I was looking down at my phone at the time. I hadn't properly looked up at the match, and then I just hear the bell ring. I'm like, what? I had to rewind to see exactly what had happened because it was over that fast. So I almost wonder, is Chelsea not able to wrestle at the moment? And that's the only thing I can think of as to why it's not happening. I think that the US Women's Belt, it was important that they have that being either that or the IC belt being showcased. Because I'm right in saying that these belts didn't exist last WrestleMania, did they?
No, they got
new introductions.
They got reintroduced at the beginning of this year.
Yeah, exactly, right? And so you absolutely should have one of them to help the women's division. Not that it needs help, but it almost is making the men's division look so much stronger by having both of their belts showcased and the two women's mid-card belts not showcased. And in fact, one of the women title holders is in for a different belt altogether. I think it's taking away so much from them.
Yeah, it's disappointing to say the least. And I think it's also just a lack. And the reason why that's not, and I can see why they're not being on the show, solely because they have not done a great job in that scene. Like the IC women's title scene has just been Lyra and Dakota going back and forth, which in my opinion, I think Dakota should have won it by now because I love Dakota. I think Dakota's great. But and the US title scene is kind of like it was her versus Michin like for like 3 months straight, and now it's kind of like her and her agency versus Zelina again. And like, does that have enough sustenance to be put on the card? Probably not. But then you do have, your War Raiders and your New Day match that gets shoved on there, your Grande Americano Rey Mysterio match. So they definitely could have found a spot for these matches. I'm hopeful that maybe for some reason they see like people are upset that they're not on there, and maybe they throw the U.S. title on there for something. Even an 8-minute match, I'd be okay with. I just wanted to be shown. But that being said, that's not on the card that we know of. So
no.
Get
and
back
I'm taking this well off topic. I'm sorry.
Yeah, who do you got in the match?
Right. Okay. Yeah. Sorry. That was a big distraction for me. Who I've got? I have the opposite. I have Bailey and Lyra winning this. Right. Yeah. You didn't see that one coming, did you? Okay. Let me explain. Okay. It's sort of for similar reasons.
Okay.
So, did you watch the gauntlet match?
I did not watch it. No, I did not watch it. I saw the result and the match. I saw how they won it.
Yeah, okay. That match is the best I have seen Lyra like period.
Okay.
Right? I felt that by the end of that match, her and Bailey combined were putting on a real show. And to be fair, this was partially because their final opponents in the gauntlet, which is the Secret Harvest, I believe it's being referred to.
Yeah.
Chelsea Green's, you know, mobs.
Yes.
Were doing equal work in making that match good, but the crowd was finally behind Lyra. I have in all the matches which I've seen and have over the last few weeks, like when the belt's been on the line or whatever it's been, you know, whether it's just a showcase match or whatnot. The crowd just has not been there for her, and I think teaming her with Bailey, who, let's face it, Bailey doesn't have a lot else going on her plate at the moment, right? I think she's done such good work in bringing Izkaya when she was with Damage Control with them. I could see Bailey and Lyra doing good work with this tag team belt. They become a tag team in the winning of this, right? Bailey lifts Lyra up, makes her relevant again. And what it then does is, because I think you are going to have the inevitable breakdown of the Judgment Day, right? I think the Liv and Raquel tag team could become not necessarily broken up, but not as maybe a little more strained or not as clear cut as it has always been. Because currently you basically only see them on screen when the whole Judgment Day is there, right? And I think it gives Liv then a reason to challenge for the IC belts at what I presume will be Backlash. I think that's normally the next one after Mania, right? So at Backlash, she goes for the IC belt instead of getting the tag team belts back. And that's where you have Lyra drop it to Liv. You've got a reason to put that storyline together, and so that Liv and then Dom can be joint IC champions together, and so I think it leads in, that's how you lead into that storyline. Rather than getting a rematch for the tag belts, you give Lyra and Bailey them, and Bailey is able to carry Lyra's ass because I think she needs it a little bit. She's good, but she just doesn't have the crowd behind her or what have you yet. But she was working well in that tag team. And then Liv can go ahead, take the IC belt of her, which drastically needs to be taken off her, given to someone that can actually carry it. And yes, I acknowledge that Liv, you were talking about Liv going against the Io Sky one. She deserves a bigger belt, probably.
Yeah.
But I think that it's not what Liv needs what's now, is what the IC belt needs right now.
Yes. Agreed.
Do you see where I'm coming from?
Yeah, no, I
like that is why I've got the other team winning.
I like your logic behind it, and it makes sense. I'm just such a stickler for tag team wrestling that I hate the idea of a shoehorn tag team beating a actual tag team. You know, it just doesn't. It doesn't. I hate that. Just like from just myself in general. So I think tag team wrestling is,
I get you,
because it's just like poor booking, in my opinion. It's like, why could we not have developed a good tag team? For them to take them on, and they just haven't. And so that's where I'm like a little disappointed, but I like your logic behind it. And if they go that route, I will be upset because I don't like seeing Liv lose at WrestleMania, because I love Liv. I think Liv's great. That being said, you know, I was surprised that we disagreed on that one. So let's go. That's always good. All right. And then finally, the main event of night 2 WrestleMania.
Yep.
We got there 2 hours and 4 minutes. All right.
Oh my God. And this is just predicting. Imagine how long this is going to be when we're talking about all of this.
God bless y'all.
Yeah.
45.
Cheers for sticking with us so much.
Yeah, 45 of y'all love the last one, and we talked for an hour and 45. So I'm assuming y'all are gonna enjoy this one. So we've got John Cena versus Cody Rhodes for the WWE Championship, main event night 2, and I've actually enjoyed the build up to this so far. I've loved the John Cena promos that have come back. They feel authentic. They feel justified. I like this Cena heel, and I think Cody has done a really, really good job carrying this match, since we've only seen Cena twice on this road to WrestleMania since the heel turn.
Nah, more than that, surely.
You saw him twice.
I I mean, you know better than me normally, but I could have sworn we've seen him like 3 or 4
Was he
times.
on? I know he was on the 2 times they were in Europe. Was he on a third time?
Yeah, he was. I'm trying to think of the shirts that he wore. I know one of them was the, I want to say Belgian flag. One of them was the Scottish flag. One of them was the English flag. So he's definitely done at least 3
Okay.
appearances, and he will be appearing again next
Okay.
week on
Okay.
SmackDown, which is the night before WrestleMania.
Okay. Okay. Well then, still when Cody's by himself, he's done a great job of making people care about this match when they've not been having a back and forth with Cena and whatnot. Um, this match for me is, I think, possibly one of the hardest matches to predict, in my opinion, solely because they can go so many different ways with this one. Because I don't know where they're going to go with this, personally speaking. Because it's like, do I want to see a heel Cena hold the belt? Yeah, I think that'd be cool. Do I want to see Cody lose the belt? Not really, because what does Cody do from there? Right? Does he chase the belt back? Does he go back for it? Does he chase it? Don't know, because I'd much rather see Cena face a bunch of different opponents. Where does that put Cody for the foreseeable
Yeah.
future? Um, where is The Rock going to be involved in this at all? I don't know. And so that's why it's very difficult for me to see where they go, because I can see, I like heel Cena, but I don't want Cena's farewell tour to be him being a heel for the entire run of it. I don't want that. What I want as a fan is, I want Cena to lose this match, and I want Cena to realize he sold out, and he needs to get back into the good graces of his fans, which is why I think we see him have those matches that we get. We get the Randy Orton match, we get a CM Punk match, we get a proper farewell kind of like match build up with him and a bunch of opponents. And then I think on his last match, he wins the 17th title and relinquishes it and hangs him up. That's what I want to see as a fan. Do I think they're going to do that? Absolutely not. I think Cena wins this match. I think he beats the living fuck out of Cody Rhodes. And that's how you get Cody Rhodes off the television until SummerSlam.
Yeah.
Like that's
Yeah.
literally like that's
Yeah.
how it's gonna be. Will it be a great match? Yeah, it'll be a great match. I don't actually, I don't know if it actually will be a great. John Cena's a little old. But will it? I'm excited to see this match. There's so many ways they can go through it, but like I just see like they've put so much time and invested in this heel turn that he's going to be heel for. Logically, he's going to be heel for a long time. For a main part of his feud, he's going to have his matches for the belt. And he gets his 17th title by being a heel. So cool. I just would have loved to see it in a different way, but this is how they're going to do it. And what better way to give us a John Cena heel turn than to have him absolutely fucking destroy Cody Rhodes and be like, you think you're the man? You cannot hold a candle to me. You are the bottom of my boot. I am John fucking Cena. I've carried this company on my back for 20 plus years. For someone like you to come in here and they can't even beat a washed up veteran like myself. And then that's the story. And then that's how you inevitably get to the end of the year where Cena ends up dropping the belt. And I'm pretty sure he drops it back to Cody because Cody has to prove himself to Cena that he is the face of the company. And I think that's the end of that storyline, in my opinion, where I think that's how they're going to have to give Cena, like, all right, you did it. You made me eat my words. You proved me wrong. You got to work your way up to me. And I think that's the storyline they go with it. But yeah, I think Cena wins this pretty much hands down. I think he beats the living fuck out of Cody Rhodes. I really do. I don't want to see Cody Rhodes for like, I don't want to see Cody Rhodes for like 3 or 4 months. I don't. I like, and this is like, you got to get him away from the title scene. And I don't see a way you put, you keep him in the title scene after that because then he's just gonna go. What he's gonna lose to John Cena at Backlash. He's gonna, like you gotta have him away from the title scene for a while, and I think they
Yeah.
have to like. There's got to be a beatdown of some sort that quote unquote injures Cody for a minute because Cena
Mhm.
will be semi full time for a majority of his time back now. Like he's done with his movies, he's going to be
Yeah.
full time for a majority of the time. So they don't need Cody there to carry a feud. Cody can well deservedly take some rest for holding the championship for a full year.
Yeah, I agree about the result. I think this is John Cena winning. I wouldn't be surprised if it's John Cena winning through the means of like the Rock screwing Cody over or something like that. Like I'm not saying John wins cleanly. He might. Like I don't know how it's going to go down, but I think John not winning cleanly leads to that injury that you're talking about. Because I agree. Like if Cody loses this, what do you do with Cody? I think it's very difficult. But the problem is that Cody shouldn't keep holding this belt for much longer.
Mm-hmm.
So, like he's held it for a year now. Did you know? I was looking up a few stats prior to this that I believe he's only the 13th star to have ever held a world title, a world singles title for longer than 1 year.
Yeah.
And that we go like all the way back in the company's history, which is like that is not many people if
Yeah.
you consider how many people have actually held that back. So he's already held it for a long time. In that time, he has defended it hardly at all in the grand scheme of things. I believe there's been 8 matches with about 5 different opponents,
Okay.
right? Which is like not good in my mind, especially when you consider that like one of these, like he defended against Solo twice,
Yeah.
right? He's defended against AJ Styles twice. 2 people that were never beating Cody for that
Mm-hmm.
belt. He's defended it against Logan Paul, right? When you actually start looking at the title defenses he's
Mm-hmm.
had, it is quite lackluster. Apparently, he's defended it like a shit ton of times in like house matches, dark matches,
Yeah. Of
and stuff
course. Of
like that.
course.
But realistically, while I'm not dismissing them, they don't count in the grand scheme of
Yeah.
things. Um, so there's that as well. But Cody should not continue to remain as champion because if he defeats John, like sure, okay, you've got somebody else coming in, but I think that somebody say like Randy Orton, if Randy Orton's the one that gets the next push to him, or Drew McIntyre, either of them, I think them winning against Cody diminishes what Cody accomplished by taking it off Reigns. Whereas John winning against him, particularly if there's any sort of screw job or what have you,
Mm-hmm.
doesn't take away from what Cody's already established and what have you. It doesn't take away from how he has been built. But I think that it's time that he drops it. And I think that if you are going to give John the belt, because he's supposedly contracted until the end of 25, if you're going to give John the belt, now is a good time to do it because he has time to hold it, run with it a little bit, defend it successfully a couple of times, drop it, and then make a redemption face turn all within the space of the year.
Mm-hmm.
If he wins it now, if he wins it later on, I think that's what you're talking about in terms of like what you'd like to see. He wins it and then he relinquishes it voluntarily before stepping away and what have you. I think that's almost exactly what he is, kind of selling at the moment, that he wants to win it and then retire
Yeah.
with it so that nobody can ever truly be champion again and what have you. But I think he wins it because you can finally stop talking about Ric Flair, who is old as fuck and has gone on to wrestle in other promotions
Yeah.
since and what have you. And it's like, I think the company never got Roman Reigns to beat the record that was held by Hulk Hogan for how long
They
he held
did.
the title
No,
for.
they did.
No. I believe Hulk Hogan still holds
Oh, is it
the
really?
record
Okay.
over Reigns. Yeah, it's not by much. I think if he'd have held it as long as SummerSlam instead of dropping it at Mania, but it was the right time for Cody Rhodes to win it and what have you. But I think John Cena winning the 17th belt is important to make the company seem like it's still always moving forward. talking about Ric Flair in this day and age is, I mean, it's the past, it's history. Um, and yeah, I think John winning it now has enough time to do everything he needs to do with the belt and still get in a redemption arc before his time in the company ends and what have you. It gives Cody a break. He doesn't need to be on there all the time. Not that he's defending it all that much.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I think that's the way it goes down
Yeah.
realistically. So I see John winning this. I would be amazed if they choose for Cody to win this because what is the point?
Yeah,
Like,
no, I agree. I don't see a world where Cody wins this belt. It's like, again, it's just like, what do you do with Cody afterwards, right? And to
yeah, that is the big question.
and in all fairness to what you said about criticizing Cody's run at this point in time, in all fairness to Cody, he was put on fucking SmackDown, and they did not have fucking people for him to work with in the nicest way possible. They like
All right, yeah.
the big bad on SmackDown was Solo. Was that Cody's fault? No, that's why they built him. AJ Styles, that's a dream match for some people. But people wanted to see that match. KO, that was a good feud. And yeah, it was questionable booking
Oh,
where
yeah,
they
sure.
where they paired him up with Roman at that tag team match at Bad Blood and stuff like that. So again, I'll agree with you that there have been questionable matches, but I don't think that's to any fault of Cody's fault, because by the time they got Damian Priest and
No.
Drew McIntyre's over there on SmackDown, he was already in a feud with Cody. He was already in a feud with John Cena by the time they properly transitioned them over
Mhm.
to the next level. Where I think that's just a booking problem right there. They just didn't have enough heels for Cody to go against. But I like thing. The kind of not necessarily the championship matches, but the fact that he was on TV on all those shows for the entire
Yeah,
year.
okay.
Yeah, he deserves a break, and I think this is how you give him a break. So we can be excited for when we see Cody come back again and then inevitably challenge for the belt.
Mhm.
Because again, he completed the story, and now I think the story that's getting the new story is that, is he the man? Is he the John Cena? Is he going to be the guy that's going to be able to
Yeah.
carry the company when Cena hangs it up? I'm not air quoting because he's actually hanging them up.
Mhm.
But when he does officially hang up his boots, is he going to be the guy that's going to be the face of this company? And I think that's the ultimate story that they're going to tell, and it will culminate at the very end where I think Cena holds this belt for a majority of the run. I don't see him dropping it, and I do, like I said, I do see him losing it to Cody, and then you see a proper like passing of the torch moment between Cena and Cody. And how we get there, I don't know how we get there, but that's where I wanted to
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
where I wanted to go. And I hope they go that route. Because Cena should not, the one thing I will say is Cena should not lose this belt to anyone besides Cody or Randy. That's it. Those are the only two
Um,
people that I would be okay seeing Cena drop the belt to. And he should not drop the belt anytime soon. Like, he should properly hold that belt for a long time until like December when he's about to walk away.
I think I think there's a few more people that you could drop it to, if I'm being realistic, and that includes the three men in the other main event,
Yeah, Punk,
like Rollins,
Reigns.
Reigns, or Punk. I could see taking off. I mean, like Cena and Punk have done some
Yeah.
absolutely
Well, we're gonna
amazing
get
work in the
we're gonna
past,
get that
and
match. We're getting that match.
yeah, like that's the thing. Like, I want that match. I want that Punk versus Cena match again, and I want it to be for the title. And whether Punk wins or not, I don't know. I think it is a possibility, though. But I don't think there are many people in the company. I think more than what you're saying, but I don't think there's many people that
Yeah.
should even like. I love Drew McIntyre, and I want to see him holding. I mean, like any belt, but in an ideal world, this one because like I think he's my current like go-to wrestler.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't be him taking it off Cena.
No.
Like
Yeah.
just as an example.
No. For sure. 100%. Well, that concludes night 2. Quick recap for you guys. So night 2, triple threat match: Io Sky, Rhea Ripley, Bianca Belair. Both me and Nick do have Io Sky winning that one, while Nick does want Rhea to win herself. Um,
Yeah.
Match 2, we got Breaker, Penta, Balor, and Dom. We both have Dominic Mysterio winning that match. Damian Priest and Drew McIntyre. We both have McIntyre. Randy Orton versus mystery opponent. We both have Randy Orton. I promise, guys, there's a little difference, okay? AJ Styles and Logan Paul. I have Logan Paul. He has AJ Styles. The tag team match, Liv and Raquel versus the newly formed tag team of Bayley and Lyra. I have Liv and Raquel. He's got Bayley and Lyra. And then for the main event, Cody Rhodes versus John Cena. We both have heel Cena coming on top, winning number 17, right?
Number 17.
Number 17.
Yeah, breaking. It already equals Flair's record. It's time to break it.
Yep. And yeah, that's our predictions, our match outcomes, guys. Thank you guys for tuning in for the longest episode of this podcast ever recorded. We greatly appreciate it, guys.
Thank you, all of you.
Yeah, it's going to be fun. I hope you guys enjoyed it. We will be doing a recap. We will be doing our WrestleMania review. So tune in, get your popcorn for that one. We'll be doing that a week after Mania as properly finished. We'll be doing that. And stay tuned for that, guys. But besides that, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap up. We're not going to take too much more of your time. But before we go, Nick, I do have one quick question. What is your WrestleMania meals? What do you have? Are we talking pizza, wings? We have obviously we're going to have the beers.
Oh, God.
What is it?
I mean, by the time I'm eating, I've already got through God knows how many beers. But it's almost always pizza, because like pizza is just the best, like easy thing to just pick up, shove in your face, and soak up that booze. Because I guarantee I've had too much of it.
There you go.
I mean, are you the same?
Same way. Always
yeah,
pizza.
Man.
Always pizza. Some wings too, if I'm feeling saucy.
Good.
Alrighty, guys. Well, besides that, guys, I've been Luke. That has been Nick, and we will see you on the next episode of Podcast Mania. Goodbye, guys. Bye.